again, everybody, and welcome to 4-Star Chicago Sports. This is the Halas Hall Hangover, and as always, I got my boys in the house. What's up, Brandon, Dustin, Kyle? How we doing this Monday?
Yo, feeling good.
Ready to do this. How you doing, Sean?
Oh, I'm living life, loving it every day. I'm still above ground, can't complain too much. But we do have some exciting news here on 4-Star Chicago Sports. As some of you have recognized and already put into the comments, we have a new logo that we unveiled. This is it. Check it out. We're really, really proud. Another Duplessis put this together for us. He put his hard time and effort into it to unveil this and get this out for us. So we really appreciate you, Sean, for all your hard work.
Thanks, Sean.
We're getting a lot of good comments already. People love it.
Yeah, it looks good. Good job.
Thanks, fucker.
He can say that. It's his brother.
Yeah.
I also want to kick off the show and remind everybody, I know draft day parties are everywhere, but no one wants to miss this draft day party. We're going to be having our third annual Bears draft day party at River Street Tavern, 102 North River Street in East Dundee, Illinois. And yes, we will be broadcasting live. And as promised, we have a ton of great giveaways. We're just getting started. We got this Tillman picture that we're going to be giving away. Just got this donated, this Dan Hampton awesome picture. Looks like he was kicking some butt there in the Super Bowl. We got this awesome DJ Moore catching this ball in the back of the end zone in the snow versus the Falcons. And, of course, we got our Cubs tickets in section 210 right here. I believe this is row 13, and this is 217, I believe. I think it's about row 12. We're going to be giving all this away. While we're doing that, we're going to be raising money for charity, taking care of people less fortunate than us. We'll be watching the Chicago Bears improve live at River Street, 102 North River Street, East Dundee. All four of us will be there. We'll be having a great time. We'd love to meet you. Put some comments to faces on April 24th. And as we move on here.
Real quick, Sean, speaking of comments, already getting them from Erica, Broski Bear, Lindsay, Breaking News, Bruce, Trax is in the building, Ant Mass. Appreciate all y'all for joining us. Keep the comments coming. Hit that like.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, and everybody is commenting on the new logo. We really appreciate the support, guys. Thank you all so much. And as we do, we got Lindsay Gruber in the house as well. I see she is loving the new logo. She's working on getting us connected on all social platforms. We're going to be working on getting our website up. We're going to be working on getting some merch for you guys. And like we said, come out. We may even just have some merch for you on April 24th. I got that in the pipeline with these fellas. We're working really hard to bring you the best show, live draft show possible on April 24th. So we look forward to seeing you all out there. But until then, let's get into the show tonight. And boys, we had a surprise, and it was a surprise to me, but not really, because 2 weeks ago on Barely There, I stated, hey, the Bears are ignoring the linebacker position. And then ever since then, I've heard linebacker. So there was an article that came out the other day that the Bears were down at Georgia's Pro Day, and everyone expected them to be speaking to Mykel Williams, which was confirmed. He did have a formal interview with the Chicago Bears that day. The notable thing that came out of that Georgia Pro Day was the fact that the Bears took time to sit down with Jalon Walker. You know, Walker is a versatile player who has the ability to line up on both as an edge rusher and a linebacker. So we can provide the Bears with some intriguing options and use them in multiple ways. This is one thing I know that our new head coach, Dennis Allen, looks for. The one thing, and I want to get your guys' opinion on this, is I'm going to turn the floor over to you. In Dennis Allen's normal scheme, he's looking for guys that are about 6'6", 6'4", 260 to 287. So this is what he's had in his offense throughout his career. That's why I'm saying that. If you go back to Cam Jordan, them just signing Deo, I think Deo is 6'6", 240, 250, or actually 260.
He's like 270, 280, yeah.
270, yeah. He's a little bit heavier. But this is my question. Are they looking for someone a little bit slower? Because his size and his weight don't meet the traditional historical things that Dennis Allen has brought to a defense. So, boys, give me your thoughts on what you think this Jalon Walker thing was. Was this something we're taking serious? Is there another linebacker you're interested in? Who wants to lead it off?
Go ahead. Oh, sorry.
Linebacker. I he's listed as a linebacker, but he's really a tweener. You know, he's a jack of all trades guy. Like a defensive coach will look at him as a Swiss Army knife. They're not looking at him as their just straight edge, and I don't think they're looking at him as their straight linebacker. I think he's a combination of both, and a creative defensive coordinator is going to say, let me get this guy and let me move him all around my defense and let me see how he can impact it, you know? And I can understand the appeal there. I just don't know if it fits in the Dennis Allen defense. I mean, he likes to get creative. He likes to play a lot of man. And I mean, Walker's a lot better in coverage than he gets credit for, to be honest. So, I mean, he's kind of reminds me of Nakobe Dean when he came out a couple of years ago out of Georgia in that same type of role. And I think a defensive coach would be looking at him like, could I get the Zach Bond level of production that the Eagles got out of him this past season? He's that kind of player. I just don't know if that's a player you drafted number 10 if you're the Bears, personally.
Kyle, take it away.
Yeah, he is a jack of all trades for sure. He's definitely stronger at some things than he is at others. He's definitely better at attacking the quarterback than he is just as an outside linebacker playing the run game. They're saying he still has to develop his off the ball skills, but he is definitely a Swiss Army knife. You can pretty much, if the Bears draft him, they can pretty much move him wherever they want and just try to fucking help him along and help his developing. But I mean, he kind of reminds me of a poor man's Micah Parsons. I think he'd probably be better suited in a 3-4. I'm not saying that he wouldn't be good for the Bears. I'm not saying the Bears couldn't find a spot for him, but I do think this would probably be just a little bit too high for me for an outside linebacker / edge. If I'm the Bears and you're looking for somebody to help you rush the quarterback, go get a true edge. If you're looking for somebody to play outside linebacker for you, go get a true outside linebacker. This guy's kind of in between. I think he would be better in a 3-4, but that's just my opinion, guys.
I agree 100%, Kyle. 3-4 is where he would fit as a straight edge rusher for like all the time. To just put him after the quarterback from that outside linebacker role.
And I'm not saying I would be like disappointed if the Bears drafted him because I think he's a great athlete. I think he's going to be good in the NFL. I just don't know, like Dustin said, if he fits this Dennis Allen scheme. It just would be a very odd pick to me.
I agree with you, Kyle, on this scheme fit especially. I do think that he is kind of a poor man's Micah Parsons. The difference between him and Micah Parsons is Parsons was very, very established coming out of the draft. He was already that guy. This is somebody you're kind of hoping develops into that. He started his collegiate career as a pass rush specialist. He didn't play every down, so he doesn't have a whole lot of experience, guys, at linebacker playing from the middle of the field. And I don't think that the Bears would put him at that position, even if he was drafted here. Sean, you had mentioned that Dennis Allen likes those bigger guys. If he's drafted here, regardless of his size, he's going to be a pass rush specialist. I think that's what he's going to play primarily in the NFL. He's not a guy that I just don't see him being, the guy with the green dot on the back of his helmet. I do like the comparison to Micah Parsons. He is a little undersized. He is, by all means, though, this is a blue chip talent. He is a 5-star recruit. I mean, this guy is a monster. He's going to be really, really good on somebody's defense. I just don't think it's Dennis Allen's.
Well, yeah, that's one thing I did want to say too, Sean. I don't want to shortchange this guy because, like Brandon's saying, he's a really good fucking player. I mean, I got some of his player comps off of Draft Buzz, man, and these are not good comps to me. Derek Hall, Chris Braswell, and Trenton Simpson. I mean, like I said, I think I look at him more of like a Nakobe Dean, but those comps are just not good comps. But this guy won the Butkus Award, guys. He just won the Butkus Award for the best linebacker in college football, and he can cover tight ends pretty well. He can do a myriad of things for your defense. It's just about do you want to have that type of player in your defense? I don't know about how that fits for Dennis Allen right now.
Well, yeah, particularly, I mean, since Dustin brought up Draft Buzz, I mean, his lowest grade on Draft Buzz was his run defense, and when you're playing in a 4-3 as an outside linebacker, that's pretty much your job. You're supposed to
bread and butter,
once the defensive ends open up some of those lanes, you were supposed to find those lanes and attack the run game.
And
if that's his biggest weakness, it wouldn't really make much sense to me for the Bears to draft him at 10. If the Bears traded back to like 16, 17, and somehow he was still there, which I don't think would happen, but if he was, then you could definitely reconsider it because that'd just be great value. But I just don't know if he fits Dennis Allen's scheme very well. And like I said, I'm not knocking the guy at all. I think Jalon Walker's going to be very good in the NFL. He is definitely a freak of nature for sure. He is an absolute athletic beast for sure. And he's the position ranked number 1 for outside linebackers from Draft Buzz. So he's going to be
for linebackers in general. Totally, yeah. He's the best linebacker on there.
It's worth. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Sean.
No. Go ahead, Brandon.
It's worth mentioning that he had a career day against Calvin Banks. He did record a sack, one of 2 sacks that Calvin Banks allowed last year. and he pretty much dominated him on the line the entire game. Like I said, I think if you're
He had
drafting
3
this
sacks
player,
in that game.
your
3 sacks.
your aspiration is that this kid is going to be a monster edge rusher. That's what you're hoping this kid is going to be when you're drafting him.
Which makes sense in a 3-4, like Kyle was saying.
Yeah, one of the things I was looking at here, some of his accolades, as you guys were touching on, 2024 third team Associated Press All-American, second team All-CC, won the Buckets Award, nation's best linebacker, led a team 10.5 tackles for loss, tied with the team lead in 6.5 sacks, played 14 games, started 11, 60 tackles, 2 pass breakups. He did play on punt coverage teams throughout the season as well. His father, Curtis, was an All-American linebacker at a Division II school, and he coached in college. Nothing crazy in the bloodlines. So for me, this could be one of those things where we've seen the Bears kind of think outside the box in the past. And maybe this is a move that they're thinking, a hybrid, versatile player, kind of out of the book of Mykel Parsons that can kind of fly around. But as you guys, as we've all stated here, he doesn't really fit the system. But could the Bears be thinking outside the box? Not only thinking outside the box here with this, but if they were going to go for a linebacker at 10, would any of you three prefer, say, Jahad Campbell at 10 over Jalon Walker, if that's
100%.
the decision they make?
100%.
Yeah, I think Campbell he is the best pure linebacker in this draft without a doubt. He's a guy who fits any system, 3-4, 4-3. As long as he's playing linebacker, he's going to be in the middle of the field. He'll probably eventually be the captain of your defense, and he is a machine, Sean. He's relentless. He is a motor. He never runs out of gas. And if the Bears are going to select a linebacker at 10, I want it to be a guy like Campbell. They did let Sanborn walk. They didn't address this position, guys. And I want to stress this. A lot of people keep posting it's combine numbers and statistics for Amon Agbong Bijima, whatever this guy's name is.
Say that fast 3 times.
This is not the answer.
Can't say it slow once.
This is not the answer at linebacker. And I don't like people are sharing figures of this guy because he was on the team when Jack Sanborn was playing linebacker for the Bears, and they chose Jack Sanborn over him. This is not the answer. This is not the Bears. Ryan Poles is not assuming this guy's going to take the role that Jack Sanborn is playing on this team. So the Bears are in need of a linebacker, and if they're going to spend a 10th overall pick on it, I would like to see Campbell for sure.
Yeah. I mean, if you're looking for a guy to fill the role of Jack Sanborn, and you're not looking for a superstar, I mean, there's just so many proven guys in the NFL right now that have been selected in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th round that have proven that outside linebacker is not the toughest transition of any position in the NFL. I mean, look at you guys just brought up Zach Bond. What was he was a 3rd round pick, I believe. I mean, TJ Edwards. TJ Edwards was a 4th round pick. I mean, I think if the Bears do their homework and they can find a way to sneak back into the 4th round or even use a 3rd round pick on a linebacker, I think they could probably find a guy to fill that Jack Sanborn role. And you don't have to break the bank. You don't have to go get a guy like this and use your number 10 overall pick. Like I said, I like both. I like Collins. I like Walker. I just don't know if I'd have linebacker that high in the Bears' position of need for this draft, 2025 draft. I think the Bears still need a lot of help on the offense and defensive line.
I did a little piece on one guy that the Bears could probably get. I think he's 52nd ranked overall. He's dropped at the class draft board just a little bit. Did a piece on him on Facebook when the Bears initially met him a while ago.
Schlesinger.
Yeah, the more and more I watch Carson Schlesinger, this guy, he's elite at processing. He's got speed, intelligence. I think he could make an impact as a starter, and he, his profile says he could play Mike or Will in the 4-3 defense.
Before we go there, can we stay on Jahad Campbell for a little
bit? Yeah.
Because I just want to say that he is the best linebacker in this draft. You're not drafting him to be an outside linebacker. You're drafting him to take Tremaine Edmonds' place if you take him at 10. He will be your middle linebacker, and I think he's a guy that can carry on your middle linebacker tradition that is so coveted here in Chicago. 6'3", 235, ran a 4.5 240. He's Draft Buzz's number 2 ranked linebacker, but he's not my number 1. Their player counts for him are Peyton Wilson, Edgerrin Cooper. This guy had 117 tackles this past season, 11.5 tackles for a loss, 5 sacks. He's a great blitzer. He's awesome in pass coverage. He moves all over the defense. He played Mike, Will, and he played the edge for Alabama. He can break up short passes in the short passing game just by getting his big-ass hands up there. He's a very high on-field IQ. He's an expert at filling gaps against the run. He fucking finds his way through a bunch of muddly bullcrap in that line of scrimmage and finds his way to the ball carrier. He has great closing speed on the boundaries too, chasing guys down, cutting off angles. Guys, Brandon, he reminds me of someone. I think you guys are going to be shocked by what I'm saying because my player comp for him is a guy who I just keep seeing this guy when I watch Jihad Campbell play football. It's Patrick Willis. That's who Jihad Campbell reminds me of. And I think he could be a fucking all pro middle linebacker in the NFL. So if the question is, would we take him at number 10? I would if I felt confident that I wanted to replace Tremaine Edmonds. As Kyle was saying, your needs are, TJ Edwards is about to be out of his deal and he's almost 30 years old. Tremaine Edmonds has been underperforming like crazy all season. I think highly of that middle linebacker position, and I think Jihad Campbell would be an absolute stud in that position for the Chicago Bears for many years.
Yeah, I'd have no problem with them drafting him. I mean, he's like you said, it's the Chicago Bears. They have to have a good middle linebacker, right? That's who they've been since 1926 when they created this organization. The problem I have is you just have to have a plan to get Edwards out of, or I mean, Edwards
exactly. Yeah, that's where the tough part is because his contract is still there.
Yeah, you certainly don't want that $72 million or whatever it is sitting on the bench. But yeah, I agree with you, Dustin. I mean, I think middle linebackers should always be a high priority for the Chicago Bears. It's who they are.
And I think you're absolutely correct in stating Jihad Campbell is the best pure linebacker in this draft. He's not the edge specialist that you're going to get out of Walker, but he is eventually the captain of your defense on this football team.
How many years did he play at college?
Three.
Yeah.
As a freshman, he was more special teams and then, played like a rotational role, but then he took over as a starter the next year and then had a dominant season this past season.
Yeah, he's awesome. I would love if the Bears drafted him.
He would be someone I would interested in. Now, would this be at 10 or a trade back scenario to get Campbell? I don't know what Campbell's draft stock is.
The question was, would we draft him at 10? That's our thought.
Right.
But the trade back would be ideal for sure.
Trade back. I'm not 100% sure where I haven't really looked at linebackers that much. So
he's going to get drafted in the teens.
10 to 15.
He's going to get drafted in the teens.
Yeah,
if you want him that bad, I'm taking him at 10.
The best of the position.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, if he's 15 and that's the guy you feel is the guy, then 10 would be fine. 5 spots don't make a difference because he can make you look like a genius. So,
but the question is, as Kyle alluded to, guys, is it worth the Bears? Is it that big of a need that it's worth the Bears spending the number 10 pick on a linebacker for this team this year? That's the major question. It's like, and if you really think about it, at the end of the day, it probably isn't.
Let me put a twist on that question for you, Dustin, because we know that this is a major need. Now we know that we have 100% still under contract. Now that might be the thing that stops them. I don't know if they would cut Edmonds, but just say that they did, because this was kind of something we want to talk about too. Drafting Campbell at 10, does that change your defense enough with what you've already added to make the Chicago Bears a contender for, say, first place to dethrone the Detroit Lions?
I think
would that move at 10 elevate this team enough?
I think Edmonds would be a phenomenal outside linebacker, Sean. I do. I don't think you're cutting Edmonds if you're drafting Campbell. I think the idea is to eventually move on from Edmonds because the contract that he's got. But he's fast. He's athletic. He just can't really get off blocks. Is his biggest issue.
The problem there is that as an NFL defense these days, you're not using more than 2 linebackers very often. You have Edwards, you have Edmonds, and they're kind of plugged into those roles. This would be to fill in, to be that nickelback who's basically that third linebacker if you're worried about the run. But against these passing offenses, you're not putting 3 linebackers out there very often. That's why Sanborn is gone. The Bears don't need a third linebacker. The Bears need to replace Tremaine Edmonds. And that's what this would be about to me, because he's not going to be playing next to those guys. That wouldn't be for this year, Sean. If they took him at 10, if they kept Edmonds and Edwards, it wouldn't be for this year. It'd be for next year, Then
for me, it would be a wasted pick. And Broski, if Genty or Warren are there and they're getting calls, I really hope that they would take Warren. So that's
another thing we're talking about. Did you guys hear what Ben Johnson said today about Tyler Warren?
The Bears are already getting calls for the 10th pick.
Well, hopefully they're able to maneuver a trade back, because I the more I think about it, the more I like that. But did you guys hear what Ben Johnson said about Tyler Warren today?
I did not.
No, I did not.
He was interviewed by Adam Hogue, and he talked about how the Bears brass were watching film, him, Poles, Ian Cunningham, and the coordinators. And he was talking about how Dennis Allen said when Tyler Warren came up, this is a guy who would give me a headache to have to play defense against. And he said that resonated with him the most because, like, he can do so many things. Another jack of all trades kind of guy. He can run the football. He can play wildcat. He's a great route runner. He's a great blocker. Ben Johnson had nothing but high praise for this guy. He said he's just a football. He's a football player. Exactly, that wildcat. You bring multiple dimensions for that. But Dennis Allen specifically said about him more than anyone else, this guy would give me headaches to have to defend against.
Yeah, he's officially a top 30. So
yeah, I said this.
He opted not to perform at his pro day.
I'm not really worried about that. I got enough film on Tyler Warren to know exactly who he is.
He's a fucking stud.
Yeah, I said this on Barely There. We did a Tyler Warren preview. I think was it last Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
I stand by it. If we're there at 10, and if it was between him and Genty, I'm taking Tyler Warren, and I'm probably taking Tyler Warren at 10 over most players. I love this guy. I love everything about this guy. He jumps off the film. Like you just said, Dustin, he's a football player. He's a matchup nightmare for defense. And you throw him with DJ Moore and Rome Odunze. I mean, you're just creating another versatile player for Caleb Williams to get the ball out to. I love Tyler Warren. I want everything to be
taking Ashton Genty if he's there with Tyler Warren, to be honest. If you're taking a luxury pick, I'm taking an Ashton Genty over Warren.
Broski points out that he's been telling us for weeks that Ben has a thing for Warren, and he has. So I want to give you credit on that, Broski. And we're all high on Tyler Warren. But here's the question, Sean, what you're talking about, because I've heard everyone tell me how good Cole Kmet is. When you're saying this about Tyler Warren, what are you saying about Cole Kmet?
I'm saying there's a lot of things Tyler Warren can do on a football field that Cole Kmet can't.
So Cole Kmet gets replaced. He's your second tight end. He's your $10 million a year second tight end.
Like what Broski Bear just said. He's your short yardage running back.
No,
your wildcat.
He would not be my short yardage running back.
What you say?
He would not be my short yardage running back.
Dude, he did it with major success in college. He was their goal line back. He pushed the ball through the end zone.
Get some carries.
These are crazy.
Yeah, Brock Bowers did a lot too, and he's not the short yardage running back for the Las Vegas
Ben Johnson's also not coaching Brock Bowers.
Yeah, Ben Johnson went out of his way.
Like this.
Yeah, but he went out of his way to get Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery.
Kyle, are you drafting
Warren in Chicago?
Kyle, are you drafting Warren? Regardless if he carries the fucking ball, who cares? Are you drafting Warren at 10?
I'm fine with drafting him, but I think it's the same position as the middle linebacker we just talked about. You have to trade Cole Kmet. You're not going to have two tight ends who are going to have 700 yards and 8 touchdowns. It's not going to happen. So basically, you're paying Cole Kmet. You've already paid him that 4-year contract. If you're going to go draft Tyler Warren, you got to find a way to get Cole Kmet off this team. You're going to sit there and eat that money for a backup tight end?
Well, that's the money, Sean. It's not about the players. Ben's going to use 2 tight ends. We need it
for sure. And he used 2 tight ends in Detroit, and you didn't see another guy in Detroit with 700 yards and 8 touchdowns.
The contract for Kmet becomes the concern for sure.
But their backup had what, 352 yards, 350 yards, and 4 or 5 touchdowns.
That's what Smythe is capable of doing. That's why he was brought here. Cole Kmet is not a guy you're paying $10 million a year to get 250 yards and 3 touchdowns, man.
Kyle, let me tell you this:
the value does not equate, Sean. That is accurate.
The what?
Accurate. The value of what you're paying him versus that production.
I'm fine with that.
Do not equate.
But you guys have said in the past, best player available.
Yep.
If it's Genty and Warren are there,
take Genty
together, sure.
Genty's
that's
better
fine.
than Warren.
That's fine. But those are probably the best 2 players available. You're taking that. There are so many things. You can still use Cole Kmet to the benefit. The contract is what the contract is. And keep Tyler Warren very active in your offense without a problem. This guy can do it all. He can line up outside, for Christ's sake.
It's not about what you can do, Sean. It's about what you should do to improve the team as much as you can. Why would you pay a guy who you're expecting to get, like Broski Beer says, Smythe isn't getting 300? So you're going to ask Cole Kmet to get 300 yards for $10 million?
I mean, you would have to, Kyle. You would have to if you're not going to. I don't know. Maybe you trade him for a 5th.
Yeah, you would trade him and get a pick, and then you would use that pick to help the team even more rather than paying a backup tight end.
Smythe is not your backup tight end, Kyle. Smythe is not your number 2 tight end. I don't see that.
So here's what I'm saying. So everybody keeps saying,
but Kmet and Warren and Ben Johnson's offense would be amazing.
Everybody keeps saying that. And Broski Beer said this in the chat last week, that he runs the most 2 tight ends. Okay, so who's the Detroit Lions backup tight end that Ben Johnson used so much last year and paid so much money in case Sam Laporta got hurt? Who is that guy? I want to know his name.
Was
Let's look up his stats.
Is it
Hold
White?
on, give me a second.
It's right. It's that
Give me a
big.
second.
Okay, right. There you go. I
Right.
thought that was close.
But the fact that none of us can just say it immediately and have to think about it or go search it that's the point. You're going to pay that guy that you're searching for in the computer right now $10 million a year.
Well,
That's
I believe
absurd,
the Lions traded for Wright because they did want that second tight end. He was on the Niners.
Yeah, and he's
believe.
probably making, I'm going to guess, 1.5 million a year, which is great. And he probably gets his 300 yards and his 4 touchdowns. Good for him. That's awesome.
Kyle, so are you saying that you wouldn't take Warren at 10?
I'm saying I would. I would just find a way to get Cole Kmet out of here. That's what I would.
Am I the only one who would draft?
Got to get out of that contract.
You can't use both for one season and see how that goes.
That's
maybe, but like, why would you have that money tied up in Cole Kmet if you can use that money elsewhere? That's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Let's get Brandon involved.
Not a lot of teams are paying backups a lot of money.
Am I the only one who would draft Ashton Genty over Tyler Warren?
I think so, yeah, because I like the running back depth a lot more than the tight end depth in this draft.
I've said this 100 times, Brandon. I mean, I can give you my opinion, but I trust Ben Johnson. And so for me, whoever Ben Johnson decides to take at 10, I'm fine with it. I'm not going to criticize or scrutinize it until the Bears start off 0-5 or something like that. And I'm like, maybe Ben Johnson's not the guy we thought he was going to be.
We're focused here on what Ben Johnson could do with the Tyler Warren.
I'm saying either
Johnson
either
said
way.
himself that he sounded like he was infatuated with Tyler.
All
Warren
I'm saying is I'm fine either way. I'm fine either way. If he thinks Genty's better for this scheme, sure. If he thinks Warren's better for the scheme, sure.
I like what Ben Johnson did with Jahmyr Gibbs a lot more than what he did with Laporta. When we're talking about what Ben Johnson can do with a talented player, I think Ashton Genty would have a much bigger impact on this Bears offense.
So you don't think DeAndre Swift could be impactful in a Ben Johnson offense?
I think DeAndre Swift takes the back seat from Ashton Genty.
What up, Illinois Jones?
DeAndre Swift's been in Ben Johnson's offense.
And he had a solid season.
Yeah, they said something funny on the radio. They said the only person that wasn't happy to see Ben Johnson hired by the Bears was DeAndre Swift, the guy he'd already gotten rid of. I think that Ashton Genty would be a much bigger part of your offense, like Jahmyr Gibbs was the Lions than Laporta was, and I think he would have a much bigger impact on how effective your offense could be. I think it changes the dynamic.
I like Judkins better than Genty, so I would not take Genty at 10 if I can get Judkins in the second round. Me personally, like I would take Warren.
I wouldn't touch Genty at all.
Yeah, I think that we're all Brandon is definitely the one outlier here because if it were Genty and Warren there at 10, I think most of us would go Warren. I think he brings more to your offense potentially.
What's up, Commish? What's up, Illinois Jones? Thanks for joining us, guys.
Yeah, everybody in here, thank you. Hit that like button. I'm sure you're all
going on, guys.
That's pretty high praise there, broski. He's a combination of Gronk and McCaffrey and Mike Allstott. He's just every Hall of Famer that ever played in the
some pretty remarkable pro comps.
Yeah, if you're talking about Gronk on the high end, that's all. I heard Gronk on the high end, Kittle on the low end. I'm good with that.
The perfect comparison would be Brock Bowers. No, I mean these are the first two tight ends who've kind of played halfback as well. I mean, I think that's probably the perfect comparison.
Kyle, who did I want the Bears to draft last year?
Brock Bowers.
Instead of Roma
Sean, I'm not. Sean, I've told you 100 times now. I have nothing against. If the Bears draft Tyler Warren, I'm fine with it. I just think that if you're a smart team like the Eagles, who just won a Super Bowl, you allocate your money correctly to the point where you're not paying backups tons and tons and tons of money. They don't. Good teams don't do that. They don't do that.
Komet is a replaceable player, basically, is what we're saying.
Yeah, he's replaced just like Braxton Jones. Do I hate Braxton Jones? No. Is he replaceable? Absolutely. 100%.
In terms of talent, Ashton Genty is ranked over Abdul Carter, over Travis Hunter, over.
It depends on what board.
He's the number one ranked player in the draft.
I see Travis Hunter at number one. I see Abdul Carter at number one. Both
if he falls to you at 10, it's like Jalon Carter falling to you at 9 all over again.
Brandon, I see more boards with those guys above Genty than Genty being above them.
I've seen
about one board.
Plethora of drafts that have the Bears getting Warren. I've seen very little that have Genty actually.
Because the Raiders are locked in with
the Raiders.
Yeah.
He's not making
Broski Bears says Warren is nothing like Bowers. Bowers is 6'3", 230 pounds. Yeah, have you seen Mike Allstott's measurables? I mean, like Broski, it's in terms of playing style. Him and Brock
I don't really get the comparison either. I'm kind of
they both run the ball.
Bowers is
they both are very precise
slot receiver.
They're weapons.
The Brock Bowers Tyler Warren comparison.
They're hybrids.
They're hybrids. They're not tight ends. They're weapons. That's what they are. They can play receiver. They can play tight end. They can play running back. They're hybrids. How many tight ends have you guys seen that before Brock Bowers? How many tight ends have you seen play that role before Brock Bowers? Zero.
Aaron Hernandez was great.
How many times did Rob Gronkowski run the ball, guys?
Aaron Hernandez was
Never.
that guy on that team.
Yeah,
Kyle.
Aaron Hernandez was definitely a hybrid type player.
Yeah.
But
Erica
we
says
never got
she
to
could see
the-
Genty going to the Giants. I like that. I do think that there is steam
I
picking
think
up for
Travis
that.
Hunter goes to the Giants, but we're talking about
All right,
the
well,
ability that
Broski, tell me another tight end who's played running back in college. Give me one.
we're talking about the ability Tyler Warren has to run the ball. We're sitting here literally talking about running the ball with
Yes,
Tyler
that's
Warren.
the comparison to
When
Brock
we're,
Bowers.
when we're talking about
That is
who
literally
we
the
take,
comparison.
We need a
Genty
running
or
back.
Warren.
Yeah, we still need a running back.
Listen,
I agree.
You guys can get a running back from Judkins to Henderson to Dylan Sampson to DJ Giddens to Damian Martinez to Devin Neal. Genty is a wasted
Surprised
pick
you
at number
waited so
10.
long to say Devin Neal, Sean.
Huh?
I'm surprised you waited so long to
Yeah,
say
you know,
Devin Neal.
he was at the top of your list. You read it backwards.
I didn't say Caleb Johnson.
I knew
but
he was going to.
he's
I knew
on
he was
there
going to
too.
sneak him in there. Sean's going to have a KU position player for every position we talk about for the rest of the show.
The Bears.
Broski wants
I
to
think
shred Kyle.
if the
Sean,
Bears-
what do you think about this? Sean, what do you think about this comment right here?
Bowers did run the football.
Yes,
for
yes, he
Georgia.
did. Broski doesn't watch much football.
but not
Bowers
consistent.
Bowers
Not-
did run the ball at Georgia.
Yes, he did.
100% Bowers
He did.
ran the
Yes,
ball
he
at
did.
Georgia.
He had
like
not to
eight
the
rushing
level-
Yeah, he had
touchdowns.
like 6 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
Yeah. He wasn't like the gadget player that
Broski.
Warren has been. Warren threw a touchdown, ran a touchdown, and obviously caught.
You guys
a
sound
bunch
like
of
you want to
touchdowns.
compare Tyler Warren to what's his name from the Saints, Taysom Hill.
Brock Bowers had 193 rushing yards in college, and 193 rushing yards, 5 rushing touchdowns. He averaged 5 yards a carry.
Yeah,
I mean,
pretty good.
Tyler Warren got used in that offense in a lot of different ways, and I think Ben Johnson looks at a guy like him and he salivates, thinking, "What could I do with him in my offense?"
You just
So
said
it
what?
would make
190
total sense. It
You
would
just
make
said
total sense.
193. Tyler Warren
Yeah.
had 200. Tyler Warren had 218.
224, I see. 224, 7 yards a carry, 6 rushing touchdowns.
So very similar.
Yeah,
in
very
terms of
similar.
their-
That's
almost
exactly
exactly
what I said.
identical. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Listen, we
Well,
love
the
Broski.
exact
I
same
want to make
rushing
clear,
stat.
Broski. I want to make clear, we love you. Your comments always keep the conversation
Hell
moving.
yeah, Broski,
Please
you're the
keep
They
shit.
them
are
coming.
currently. They currently are.
Yeah,
And I
we
checked
appreciate
you
it.
out on the No Huddle pod the other day too, man. Good job over there.
What are we on to next, guys? So, I mean, what we were talking about this number 10 pick, linebackers, potential. We don't think it's going to happen, right? Is that kind of where we fell?
I don't think it's gonna happen. I think the Bears are putting out feelers, and I honestly think that this Jalen Walker thing is possibly a thing if they trade back and maybe they're in that 14 to 20 slot, and that the guy they want to gets picked. Well, they did their due diligence. They've already scouted Jalen Walker. Maybe this is a guy. Yeah, then we'll take him because who knows? I just don't think they were visiting with him to say you're the number 10 overall pick in the NFL draft.
And real quick, I like I said, I do think Jalen Walker is drafted to mold into an edge rusher in a 3-4 defense, and I think that Pierce and Green are already more established players in that very same role.
In the 3-4 defense.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I think that
I
Pierce
agree.
and Green are already better at what somebody would want Walker to be. So there's
And you want to know what's funny is
You're
a
talking
lot
about
of people.
as a true defensive end.
What's
What's
that,
that?
Cal?
What are you talking about, Brandon?
I think
Defensive end
Pierce,
in a 3-4.
I think Pearson Green and would play that same role in a 3-4 defense. They'd be an edge, and I think they have much more production already. They're a little more established at these positions. So if you're drafting Walker to potentially be like a Micah Parsons, play a Micah Parsons type role, there's guys in this draft who have already succeeded in that role.
Except Brandon, what he brings is he's not just that. He would get drafted high because the defensive coordinator would look at it and say, I could drop this guy back into coverage. I could disguise a lot of things. I could move him everywhere.
Right.
It's a little different than Mike Green and James
but
Pierce.
you're still
So that's what
focused on
separates him.
But you're still focused on a project because, like I said, it wasn't until his senior year that he actually started to play the linebacker position. He really is not. He has not played a whole lot of linebacker.
But he
So-
developed pretty well at it pretty quickly in terms of covering, sticking with guys in coverage. I mean, he got pretty good at it. I mean, it's impressive for sure. I don't want to knock him too much, but I don't want him for the Bears.
No, for his first 2 years, he played a majority of his football on the line of scrimmage. So this is a project player. It is. He's a blue chip talent, But it doesn't mean he's the perfect mold for any defense in the NFL. He would have to be developed.
And I would say
one of the
Go
major
ahead, Sean.
weaknesses they have listed for Jalon Walker is limited starting experience, 11 starts, may require patience during his NFL transition. So yeah, it sounds like they definitely think he needs some.
That's what I'm saying. He's
Yeah.
a project.
The same thing with Zach Bond, guys. Zach Bond was taken by the Saints in the third round, like you said, Kyle. He never did anything for the Saints, and then his fourth, fifth year, it starts to click for him. That could be the type of player he is. That's why I don't like these tweener guys, man. That's why I don't like them. That's why I don't want them for the Bears, personally. Even in a trade back scenario, I think in a trade back scenario, Sean, you could potentially still get Tyler Warren. I see a lot of mocks with this guy going 14 to the Colts. He's moving back far. So, like, if Genty were there. A lot of people put in the chat already. Use that as a trade chip to move back, get some more draft assets in the draft where you can get some starters in the middle rounds potentially, and then still get one of these guys that you're eyeballing.
Well, where are the Cowboys? Where are the Cowboys? 12?
Philip, yep, they're 12.
Well, the Bears have not been very good with tweeners, man.
No, they don't know how to use them. But Ben Johnson may change that.
A lot of people don't. A lot of people don't know how to use those guys. It shows. Again, Zach Bond didn't do anything until he got with Vic Fangio in Philadelphia. He was with Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen. That's an example of a guy who Dennis Allen drafted, who he was looking at and had to mold into that role, and it never happened there in New Orleans. It just didn't happen.
Let's go, Brandon.
And the Bears are probably thinking they'll draft him and they'll put him in the worst position possible, knowing the Bears in the last 20 years. I mean, he'll be like the next Shea McClellan.
I think we can all agree, though, if the Bears were to kind of throw a curveball, I know it's the wrong sport, but if they draft the linebacker at 10, Jihad Campbell is a much better fit for this.
Jihad Campbell is the guy.
You need a tackle. You need a tackle machine, right?
And I was just going to say that if you want to get a tackle machine, my boy Carson Schlesinger is the perfect guy because that's all he does is tackle people to the ground. Don't forget about that guy in the third round. He just might be the steal of the draft.
And Eric Bieniemy has a lot of insight on that.
On UCLA?
Indeed.
Yeah, I mean, he led the Big Ten. He led the Big Ten defense in stops last year. I mean, this guy was great in coverage. He was great against the pass. My favorite thing about him is he works his ass off. This dude went from a walk-on to one of the best linebackers in the country, which means this guy is all gas, no brakes. He's got intelligence. There's a lot of great things. He reminds me a lot of one Hunter Hillenmeyer. Probably a little bit better though than Hunter Hillenmeyer.
I'm hoping.
Hey, I know you guys
threw out Hunter Hillenmeyer and Shea McClellan here for the conference.
No, I didn't throw out Shea McClellan. Hunter Hillenmeyer was a very, very, very good football player, dude. Very underrated by people.
He was, but he had limitations, Sean. He had limitations.
Of course, he had limitations.
His lack of athleticism, and Carson.
I don't think you'll find that. I don't think
in that mold as well.
When I talk about him and Carson, I'm talking about their intelligence, knowing where to be on the football field, being ahead of the offense,
it's important
knowing the play. There's a lot of different things. I think Carson is a lot more athletic than Hunter Hillenmeyer.
I think they're both very good tacklers.
I would hope so. He's still not
They're
athletic.
very good
sound tacklers.
His athleticism compared to Jihad Campbell's is non-existent. Is what I will say.
You know, and I know the other thing too in this defense. I mean, he's only 225 pounds, so you probably want to add a little weight to Carson's body, but you know, we'll move on from there. We'll see where this guy ends up.
Erica loves Carson.
I think the chat agrees. No linebackers at 10.
And I love
linebackers.
The new background just looks so sick, guys. It's very calming. The black behind.
That seems to be the trend here in the chat, guys. No linebacker at 10.
I like the dark.
Sean, you want to throw out another ad for the draft day party that we're doing?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because more people are here now. Thanks for joining us, everybody. By the way, don't forget that on April 24th, we're going to be going live from River Street Tavern, 102 North River Street in East Dundee. We are loaded. You can find Kyle there almost every day of his life. He loves hanging out there.
I'd like to know where you are at all times so I can avoid you.
We are going to be we are going to have Bears trivia. We did this the last couple of years. It was very successful. Everyone contributed. And this year we're going to have a grand prize for the grand prize winner. What it's going to be some kind of mini helmet sign, some kind of autograph photo. I'm not sure yet, but as we get closer over the next 24 days.
One of the grand prize winners, because the grand prize winner takes half the 50-50 raffle.
No, for the trivia, for Bears trivia.
Oh, the trivia.
For Bears trivia, yeah. And we already got some great stuff loaded in here for you. We got
Come
this
test
Tillman
your
picture.
knowledge, guys.
We got Dan Hampton
The
celebrating in the Super Bowl. We got this awesome DJ Moore corner of the end zone over in the snow at Soldier. We also loaded up a couple of sets of Cubs tickets. This set right here is for the Florida Marlins on May 15th. It's a Monday night, 6:40 start. This one is for the San Francisco Giants on May 5th at 6:40 as well. So you can plan to take the day off of work, have a great time on 4-Star Chicago Sports. We love y'all. There is also a 50-50 raffle that will be there. So the grand prize for that is you split the pot. Last year's winner was generous enough to split the pot and give it all to charity. That was really generous. You don't have to do that, but just kind of the things that happen at these charity events, because after all, we are raising money for people less fortunate than us. And as we move on,
Illinois Jones says that is so sick. So yeah, it is, man. So come out and check it out in person. Illinois is in your name, so like you're somewhere around here.
And you guys want to test your Bears knowledge. You guys want to test your Bears knowledge. I mean, he finds some really tough questions. Listen, we're all Bears fans here. I thought I knew a lot about the Bears.
Do we got to test one?
They couldn't even. Ready? They couldn't even. Nobody could.
I can put some out.
The Bears. Nobody can answer who the Bears offensive. Who was the Bears offensive coordinator in 1985-86 when they won the Super Bowl?
Hunter Hillmeyer.
Ditka. Sausage.
How many times you hear people talk about Buddy Ryan? How many people you just Mike Ditka? Nobody ever knows the name of the offensive coordinator. Who was
I didn't realize we were going back to the fucking the Jurassic age.
Oh yeah,
with these
you have no choice because
he says Illinois Jones says Buddy Ryan. Yeah.
Hey, hold on.
He's just the everything coordinator.
So we could still use this. Can I answer?
Yeah.
I believe it was Ed Hughes.
Ed Hughes, yes.
Ed Hughes. There's also
that's what I was.
Yeah, Ed Hughes, of course.
Yeah.
He
made all those high school movies in the 80s.
You also know one, and I don't want to give this away too early.
Don't you?
The Bears had a sack in Super Bowl 85, and no one ever remembers that guy's name, and it's a stumper every freaking year. Does anybody here know that guy's name?
Well, Sean, we can't take the whole trivia.
All right. Now everyone's going to go look it up.
How hard this will be for everyone who comes out. Illinois Jones is going to come out and check it out. And just some comments that we missed on, guys, while we're doing this. This is going to be a crazy
you know what? Really quick, Dustin? Really quick. For draft night, I forgot. We worked out great specials for y'all. $3 tall boys, 16-ounce Coors Lights, $3. You can't beat that. On top of that, we're going to have a hot dog special, which they did not put on the flyer. I'm not sure why. I have to ask them about that. Maybe get a new one made up. But we also have half-price chicken bites. They have how many flavors, Kyle? 6 different flavors for the chicken bites?
Oh, I mean, with the sauces we have in that building, Sean, there could be 60 different.
All right, perfect. There's
lots of sauces, guys. So many sauces.
They're delicious.
Come
on out. Have a good time. All right.
Kyle, you should work
on one more before we get out of here. It is tournament time, guys. Don't forget to download the Wanna Play Parlay app. Get in, use the code name TRACKS. You get 50% match on whatever you put in. I know a bunch of us are doing this right now. It's a lot of fun. You can play against your buddies.
Sean, I think it's 100% match.
What's that? It's 100% match. Sorry. Did I say 50?
Yeah.
100% match. 100% match.
Double your money.
Yeah. And then on top of that, you can play against your friends. You can play against the leaderboard. You can play against us right here on 4 Stars. You can play against the guys on CSP. Test your knowledge. Get in for $2. You can make a ton of money. It's a lot of fun. Wanna Parlay, WANNA parlay.com, and gambling problem. Don't forget.
He spells wanna, but doesn't spell parlay.
El Nino, Spanish for the Nino.
Phil says, "Oh, come on now, goddammit. Gotta wear your drinking shoes on draft night." My question is, are they like lined with plastic in case you piss your pants, or what are your drinking shoes? How does that work?
And you gotta wear your drinking pants.
And we're not getting out of here. Sean said before we get out of here, we're not getting out of here right now. Everybody hang tight.
No, we're not getting out of here.
Good night, guys.
Everybody, we're out.
says this is
No.
going to be a crazy draft. All the teams have their own pick in the first round, and how long anything can happen. And Greg Gabriel put this out earlier today, man, and I agree with him. This draft is going to be very hard to predict because I feel like there's just so many different varying levels of how teams are looking at these players. There's going to be a lot of surprises on draft night. It's going to be very hard to predict how these things go. Yet we still sit here and try to do it.
You've heard some of these draft experts come out and say there's only a handful of blue chip players. You hear other guys come out and say there's a lot of more blue chip players than people think. Like for the first time in a very long time, guys, I have no idea what the Bears are doing at 10. No,
it's really tough. This is the toughest draft I can remember in a while. I'm
going to stick to my guns though when it comes to the Bears. I think 100% we're looking at a trade back on April 24th. I think they're going to trade back in between.
Yeah,
15.
I put that.
I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals, and I think I'm going to stick there. My secondary choice would be the Seattle Seahawks at 18, but I think it's going to be 17 or 18 that the Bears.
The Bengals, though, it's tough because you got to find that partner, and you're pointing that out, right, with the Bengals. But the Bengals need their picks. They just spent all their money on three players, and they need multiple.
They do need more picks.
Build out that defense, so I can't see them trading up. That doesn't make sense to me.
I think if there's a player there on defense that they really love, that they would trade up because God knows that defense is going to be this year. Yeah, I mean, they need some lockdown blue chip players. They left no money for themselves to improve that defense. I think, again, if Will Johnson maybe could be the blue chip player that they're looking at.
They certainly need secondary players, and Will Johnson is the best one in this draft.
So,
and I mean,
I'm going to say 17, 18. I think they're comfortable. I think there's an outside chance that if Genty is there at 10, that the Cowboys are kicking the tires on the Chicago Bears, saying, hey, can we move up 2 spots? I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility either.
That seems more realistic to me. I would love a trade back. I just don't know if anybody's going to be wanting to trade up in this draft because of how varied the talent level is in terms of everyone.
There's like 5 teams who don't have a running back on their roster right now.
The Scottish Bear is saying what I'm trying to say. The only problem is everyone will want to trade back with the depth from this draft from 10 to 40. Like the Bears are just in a rough spot in finding that trade back partner because you're not going to. It's just going to be hard to find that person that wants to give up draft capital in this draft to move up. That's going to be hard. The Cowboys are one that I guess could be somewhat realistic, but they have so many needs too, and
they do.
And they're cash strapped as well. A lot of teams are in that same position.
I like Illinois Jones here with the Cardinals because Cardinals, they've made some good improvements. They definitely need a little bit of defensive help. They need some offensive help. I know you guys aren't the biggest Marvin Harrison Jr. fans, but I still love him, and I still think he's going to be a hell of a pro football player when it's all said and done. I honestly think Marvin Harrison – I think Marvin Harrison Jr.'s biggest problem is –
just because I say Rome Odunze is better than Marvin Harrison Jr. doesn't mean I don't think Marvin Harrison Jr. is
I don't necessarily know that to be true either, but – I really don't.
That's what I believe, and that's the way I think this season is going to play out in terms of their performance.
I think the difference between the two is if Marvin Harrison had a professional quarterback, I think we'd be having a lot different quarterback. Conversation. I think his quarterback is his biggest detriment, and I don't think that's going to change.
I think if you watch some of Marvin Harrison's film, you see him breaking off routes too early. You see him not coming down with catches that he should be making. I think that there's a lot of that out there too. If you go watch it.
He did cost me a playoff spot.
Well, the good news is he can improve on that stuff, but he can't fix his quarterback.
Yes, he drops the ball too much.
He can fix that stuff. He can't fix Kyler Gordon.
Well, we don't need to worry about that. I don't know. We'll see if the Bears are able to trade.
Kyle, as you bring that up, I did hear today that the Bears are now dissecting ways to extend Kyler Gordon. So that's been the best news that I've heard in a while, that he's actually on the radar to get something done for my favorite Chicago Bear. Get that guy under a contract already.
I saw something today that the Bears were the only team in the NFL with 2 quarterbacks rated in the top 10 in pass coverage, and they were Jalon Johnson and Kyler Gordon.
Did you guys just jump from Kyler Murray to Kyler Gordon?
Brandon, keep up, man.
We were talking about the Cardinals like 12 seconds ago.
Yes, I do feel hot dogs are underrated. I really, really do.
It depends on where you're getting the hot dog from, man. Like, honestly, a Chicago dog done right is pretty damn good. And yeah, you don't need fries with that. You really don't.
It's a ballpark classic, man.
Hey, let me ask you guys: are you guys Gene and Jude's, or are you guys a Super Dog?
Super Dog.
I don't think
my boy.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I've ever had either one of those either. So.
Oh my God, are you
In the
serious? These are Chicago icons, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the city. What's the other one? The something wiener?
Oh my God! All right, we got to
It's all
plan a
the
trip to
adults.
Superdog. This is ridiculous. This is
All right.
absurd.
Well, yeah, we'll do that. And right now, though, we're talking about Kyler Gordon, right? What about these two secondary players that the Bears are bringing in for top
breaking
30
news
visits?
is Gene and Jude. Ooh.
Breaking news
All
of
right,
Gene
Breaking.
and
I
Steve,
forgive
you asked
you.
that question just to judge the answer, anyways.
I forgive him. No,
let's
it's
talk
okay,
about,
Bruce.
Let's talk
Hey,
about
you
this
guys
top
know-
30 visit.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Kyle.
Let's talk about Barron, man.
Let's talk about fucking
the
Jahdae
Bears.
Barron. Yes,
The
yes.
Chicago Bears did extend their list of top 30 visits. They did go to Texas's Pro Day. They came away with
Three.
Jahdae
I've had
Barron.
Wally's Red Hots. Those. Yes, I've had.
What's that?
I've had a Wally's Red Hot before.
Wally's Red Hot. I don't think I've had Wally's Red Hots.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Let's get back into Jahdae Barron.
So Jahdae Barron is the first top 30 visit that the Bears is the newest addition to the Chicago Bears list. And, this was kind of, different or a surprise to me, although Dustin said that he can play the outside. He's kind of played a big nickel role at Texas, and I kind of feel like his physical traits and stuff, battling against larger receivers, winning physical matchups, particularly in the slot, were one of his strengths in college. So, but you guys are saying, Dustin, you fully believe that this guy can play on the outside as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of scouting reports I read said, primary nickel guy in the big league or in the big leagues in the NFL. So that gives me a little pause when we have the best nickel cover corner in football.
I would say, listen, he played a very split role, 50-50 between boundary and the nickel. He played both, and he did both very well. He's your third. He's Draft Buzz's third-ranked corner. He's a projected first-round pick. He's 5'11", 194, ran a 4.39 40. His player comps, you guys are going to love this. Kool-Aid McKinstry, who is kind of a tweener between the slot and the boundary, and then Pat Surtain. Those were the player comps. Those are some fucking special player comps.
Yeah, they're all right.
Yeah, I specifically wrote down Patrick Surtain. That's impressive.
Yeah, yes.
And
then here, what else is interesting is that Kool-Aid McKinstry was drafted by Dennis Allen last year in New Orleans. And he's a very similar player to Jahdae Barron. So, I mean, that's something to think about. This guy won the Jim Thorpe Award in 2024. He had 5 interceptions in 2024, 67 tackles, 11 pass breakups. I would say that he's a fucking beast. He comes up strong to play the run. He's a great tackler. He's great in press coverage and off coverage. He has great instincts breaking on the ball when he is playing off. When that ball gets released, he is breaking on it. He baits quarterbacks into making throws that he wants them to make. Listen, I don't know how much you want to spend your first-round pick on a cornerback, but this is a guy, when I watch him play football, I want him on my fucking football team, man.
I can tell you this.
Is really good.
This guy's draft buzz grading was amazing. I mean, his QB rating when targeted is 50.3. His tackling grading was 92. Run defense 93. Coverage 99. Zone coverage was 89. Man and press coverage was 98. I mean, they sound like they think he can basically do anything. Some of the strengths
would fit Dennis Allen's system perfectly, Kyle.
Yeah, he's a lead processor who diagnoses route combinations in real time, brings controlled violence as a tackler despite his size, takes proper angles to the ball, and shows some serious dog when he needs to bring down ball carriers. Exceptional plant and drivability that shows up repeatedly on film, routinely beats receivers to the spot and underneath routes and disrupts timing when with precise routes. I mean, this guy is they like him a lot.
I like him a lot.
Can I bring up a couple things that
I'm happy the Bears are going to meet with him for sure. That's for sure. Go ahead, Sean.
Well, just a couple of weaknesses, that I found, where, limited exposure in man coverage. He gets beat often by dynamic, faster receivers. His top end speed, he has lack thereof. He has problem defending deep vertical routes, especially when going up against burners that can blow by him. He has a problem tackling. It says, well, he seems solid at his tackling. He's needed to run through and wrap up more frequently. Suggests he sometimes relies on arm tackles, and it leads to missed opportunities. He also has shorter arms. And I know you guys aren't big shorter arms people, but his arms could limit his ability to be effective in both with in ball productions, interceptions, and pass deflections. So do any of these things concern you? It does say, well, these weaknesses present areas for improvement. They're not necessarily deal breakers.
What are they talking? Are they talking about gameplay speed? I mean, he ran a 4.39. What did they want?
Yeah.
What do they want?
This is from NFL.com.
I've seen him keep pace with these receivers. He'll blanket a receiver. The man coverage thing doesn't make any sense to me. Now, is he better off in like a matching concept, like kind of where you drop into a zone, but then you pick up a receiver and match them as they come across you? Probably, yeah, to start. But I mean, he can be a damn good man corner. I when I'm watching him, I see a lot of talent in both man and zone potential, and I see speed. I see him break up a lot of passes that not a lot of guys would break up, man. So
you guys get 5 interceptions and 11 passes defended last year. Those don't sound. I mean, he sounds like he's a ball hawk to me. He sounds like he's a guy who's going to get his hands on the ball a lot. I don't really read too much into the short arms, guys. I'm sorry, man, but I read more into just watch the game tape. I watched his game tape all day today. The guy is absolutely
same here. Yeah,
he's a beast for sure. Listen, I wouldn't take him at 10 because I think you can get him in the middle of the first round.
He's definitely going in the first though, so you have to trade back, and then if you're targeting him.
Here, and just so you guys know, this is NFL Premium. His 5 weaknesses: limited exposure and man coverage, might not have the top end speed to carry vertical routes solo. Average lateral transitions and recovery, busts when beaten, needs to run through and wrap up tackles more frequently. Short arms impact his ball production and tackle success.
You read those already? Yes, I would say that all these guys have negatives. All these guys have weaknesses. That's why they're prospects, right?
He's faster than Jalon Johnson, right? I mean, I don't understand this. The speed thing doesn't make sense.
He's by all measures what the Bears look for in players on both sides of the ball. This is what impresses me the most. Dustin said it. He's a press coverage guy. The Bears want to win on the line of scrimmage, not just on the offensive defensive lines. They get wide receivers that have great press release, and they get physical corners that have good press coverage. This is the thing I like to hear the most. He has patient feet and strong hands, which allow him to redirect receivers within 5-yard windows. This is a guy you want to disrupt a play at the snap. You want receivers to not get the ability
off the timing
to get off the line. Yeah. That is what he's phenomenal at, and that is something that Ryan Poles, I believe more so than Matt Eberflus, Ryan Poles has really stressed players like this because you want to win on the line of scrimmage. When people hear that, they think offensive line, defensive line. It goes well beyond that. You need guys like this to be physical at the line, and I think with big receivers, because I know Sean, you said he has trouble with speed. With big receivers, a guy who plays bigger than he is.
I didn't say that. NFL.com did.
You did say it twice, though, Sean. You read it twice.
It says he plays bigger than he is, as strong hands. This guy is going to be able to match up with big receivers, and that's important in the NFL today.
I want to comment on what Scottish says here. It says we have too many needs to take a corner that can wait until next draft. We have 0 depth on the O-line. While I will say I want the Bears to attack the O-line and do it aggressively, I don't want them to take their foot off the gas. I've been saying that. I think offensive line cannot be neglected in this draft, especially left tackle. Corner is a bigger need than I think we want to admit. With Terrell Smith and Tyreek Stevenson having their continued issues in coverage, Tyreek not just with his mental issues on the field and whatever,
he slipped in coverage. Yeah.
He slipped in coverage in terms
terrible of 50-50 balls.
He slipped in coverage in terms of his performance. Guys, can you guys just acknowledge how much I defended Tyreek Stevenson until there was no more defending him? I love Tyreek Stevenson. I hope he can turn it around, but I think corner is a much bigger need than Bears fans are giving it credit for, given the uncertainty on the opposite side of Jalon Johnson.
Well, it's funny that Scottish Bear, thanks for the comment. Those two positions you just talked about, corner and O-line, those are probably two positions where the phrase can never have too many hold true the most. I mean, offensive line and cornerback seem to be the positions that are most injured.
Bring them.
Well, you can never have enough of either of them, man. The Bears had to use backup corners multiple times last season, backup offensive linemen multiple times last season, and both hurt them badly. The biggest strength I like about Bear, and you guys, this is my favorite one. says high leverage zone instincts allow him to bait the quarterback, plays with exceptional spatial awareness, and shows an uncanny knack for lurking in passing windows. So maybe if he uses those strengths right there, it'll make up for some of that lack of speed, which I still don't understand with the 4.39 40. Maybe
Yeah,
it's
I don't think that he has a lack of speed. When you
speed.
watch him playing, Kyle, he has the speed on the field too. He sticks with these receivers. I mean,
Yeah, but
from what I've seen. So.
Yeah, if there's multiple websites saying that seems to be a weakness, I mean, I guess they've seen it somewhere. I've only watched a couple hours of film on him, but I like him a lot, man. When I watched his film, he's one of those guys whose name pops up constantly when you're watching his games. Constantly.
Yeah, when you're watching him, you wish he would be on your football team because that's how he plays. He plays hard. He's not afraid to stick his hat in there and come up and play the run. And I think he's a better tackler than he was given credit for with those weaknesses.
Yeah,
too.
I
But
mean,
everybody's going to have weaknesses.
They gave him a 90, sorry guys, NFL Draft Buzz. So obviously everybody has their own websites that they like, but a 92 at tackling is nothing to shake your head. I mean, he was one of the highest tackling corners listed in their Draft Buzz top 10.
I will agree with Scottish that I don't know that taking a corner in the first round makes sense for the Bears. I mean, maybe a little later in the draft, second, third round to target someone there. Jahdae Barron is a little surprising in that regard because, yeah, he's a first-round player. You need to take him in the first round if you want him on your team. So if the Bears are interviewing him and leading him.
I think they're doing their due diligence on blue chip talent. It sounds like by all measures, Jahdae is a blue chip talent. So if you have the ability to get him at 15, 16, wherever it might be, blue chip players make the difference.
I'm a little surprised at the giving up on Tyreek Stevenson because
I'm not giving up, but I need to see more for sure.
Jesus, Dustin, why'd you crucify the guy?
Well, I'm just saying, dude. I mean, 16 pass deflections was among league leaders in the NFL.
We know he has the talent.
He did have
He's
four
just gotta
forced
get it together.
fumbles.
Yeah, he's just a boomer bust guy, Sean. Right?
Yeah,
now.
he
Like,
takes chances, man.
The Bears need more consistency.
He takes
in that
chances.
coverage.
Yeah, he takes chances. He does.
I'm not ready to crucify the guy yet.
Neither am I.
I think he had a bad second half of his season. I think he did fine in the first half. I think after the Washington game, he was rattled, but he showed us in 23 he could be all right. The second half of 24, he wasn't. I still think he's closer to the player he was for the first 17, 25 games than he was for the last 8 or whatever the numbers are. That's just my personal opinion.
He was benched on 3 separate occasions.
So
the season.
the question,
who is he benched by? Who is he benched by?
What do you mean?
Who benched him?
the guy who was fired, Sean.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Listen, but here,
The
Sean,
guy who failed to recognize his back turn to the play, didn't call a timeout, cost the Bears a game. The guy who never coached these guys up.
Well, Sean, where are you putting the blame though? The guy who failed to call a timeout, or the guy with his back turned to the play? Where's the blame fall there?
It's going to fall on both. The question to me, Sean, and I would like for you to answer this: do you think the Bears have enough depth at cornerback for you to be comfortable that they can compete in the NFC North this season? That's my question.
Outside of injury, probably not. I mean, they let everybody go. Their depth is gone. They need to.
Do you agree,
Sean?
Get some depth. Do you agree that Tyreek
Stevenson drafting a cornerback could make sense for this Bears team based on that?
For me, not in the first or second round. I think I'm more looking towards a third round guy than I would be looking at anything. I think your initial needs, and this is just my personal opinion, and if Chad agree, disagree, that's fine. I think your blue chip, high end players like your defensive ends and still your offensive tackles should be the guys you're focusing on in the first and second round. Now, as I stated earlier, you're looking for blue chip player. You have that chance at 10 to take one like a Tyler Warren or, if you guys want to say Ashton Genty, that's fine because I know everyone says he's a blue chip player, then that's fine. But then I really still think you need to focus your 2 second round picks on those big money possessions, either D end or maybe a left tackle if someone's still there. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, and you need those things. You need an edge rusher, and I think you need a left tackle. But we still have Karan Amagaji.
And what's interesting, right? Sean,
we do.
What is interesting is the Bears have now made 3 top 30 visits with players out of Texas and Isaiah Bond, Jahdae Barron, and we'll get into the last Andre Makuba, but they have not scheduled a top 30 visit with Calvin Banks. So I am a little curious to know where the Bears' vision is here in regards to how they're treating the left tackle position, because to me, and I think to all 4 of us, we can agree, it is very shaky.
Well,
Yeah.
I think they're both question marks on this roster, guys. I think they think Tyreek Stevenson's a question mark, and I think they think Braxton Jones is probably a question mark as well. I think the Bears believe that they can upgrade at both those positions. Basically, what it comes down to, like Sean said, is just the value? Where do you prioritize them? Is tackle prioritized higher than cornerback in this draft? Is cornerback prioritized higher than linebacker? I mean, ultimately, it's going to come down to Ben Johnson, what he thinks is what he needs the most to make this scheme work. And for me personally, guys, like I said, leave no stone unturned. Finish the offensive line. If there's a guy like Calvin Banks there at 10,
visit with Calvin Banks.
you can trade back into
top
Josh
30
Simmons.
with Calvin Banks.
Yes, both of them.
And
Josh Simmons and Calvin Banks.
Brandon,
You should have a top 30 schedule with both of them.
You sparked something in my brain that I was thinking about, and I think that this is encouraging, guys. The top 30s all coming from Texas, right? And then the Bears were all at Ohio State's pro day, and then they're at Georgia. These are schools that are in awesome conferences, very, very high level football being played, and they're always successful. And you always see players from these schools, translating well to the NFL. And I just think that you see that the Bears are looking for guys with pedigree coming out of the draft more so than I think I've seen them do in the past. And that's something that I don't know, it's been talked about a lot, but it's encouraging to me when I see that they're really focusing heavily on these big schools that push out big time players.
Yeah, we talked about that.
And the fat lady isn't saying, but Dustin, you just said 3 major schools the Bears team has visited, and they went to Ann Arbor, they went to Ohio State. We still haven't seen Josh Simmons, and we haven't seen Calvin Banks scheduled for a top 30, which is alarming.
Are they as focused on the trenches as we think they should be, is what you're asking, yes.
Or maybe the meetings they had with them when they went to their pro days was enough for them. I mean, I would hope not, but maybe it is. Maybe they know what they've seen out of these guys. They know what they're going to be in the NFL, or they believe they know what they're going to be in the NFL.
Josh Simmons, you want to get a medical out of him. You want a top 30. You want
I'm sure they got the medicals on his pro day.
Yeah.
I mean, if you watch this film from his pro day, I think you got your answers.
But you still want your doctors to.
I understand that, but I'm sure you're watching his pro day and you're like,
I mean, guys, the fact that he's running
he
with
lifted
straps
weights
on is insane. I mean, that knee, he wouldn't be running with straps on if that knee had issues.
No
way.
Listen, I said it on Thursday, man. I would be deeply because we reviewed Matt Miller's mock draft, and he didn't have them touching offensive line until the 7th round. I would be deeply disappointed if that's how the Bears draft went.
Yeah, he had him taking Hinton out of Michigan, which is a school they visited and didn't have a top 30 visit with Hinton. They have not visited with any of these tackles. It's concerning, guys. I think
unfortunately, man, 30 visits isn't that much. When you're talking about a whole prospect full of drafts, 30 visits is not.
And I don't know if you need a top 30 to know that Calvin Banks is really fucking good.
This is something that I've said 100 times, man. Braxton Jones is Pole's guy. It's his diamond in the rough. It's his little baby that he found, and he's not ready to let that go. And maybe he doesn't feel there's someone in this draft that can replace him. That would be the feeling.
That would be an insane feeling.
Listen, they got Will Campbell. They got Will Campbell coming in. They got Josh Connerly coming in. Those are 2 guys that are left tackles in my mind, right? Josh Connerly is definitely left tackle. Will Campbell to me is a left tackle. So it seems like they are focusing on it. We got to see more of these come out. But there was one more top 30, Sean, that they announced that I like this one too an awful lot.
Go ahead, introduce him. Mumbaka,
Andrew Makuba.
Safety
out of Texas, another guy out of Texas.
This is something that makes sense to me.
Fuck yes, it does. This guy is another guy. When you watch his film, you're like, holy shit, I want this guy to play on my football team.
I know.
If you guys remember, Makuba is the guy who had the game-sealing interception in overtime against Arizona State, and he had the hit on Stockton, the backup quarterback of Georgia, at the goal line when he went to go run it in, and Makuba just lit his ass up and knocked his helmet straight off his fucking head. This guy is a stud, dude, and he's a projected 3rd-round player. The Bears could get him at 72. He is ranked 72 by NFL Draft Buzz. He's right there in the wheelhouse.
Kyle's already got it locked and loaded, but what is the QB rating when targeted, Kyle?
38.7.
Good Lord. I mean, you want
his player comps, Javon Bullard and Kyler Gordon from NFL Draft Buzz.
Yeah, and you guys want to hear some more impressive numbers, draftbuzz.com. These are his rankings. When it comes to his overall ranking is 84.1, tackling 73, run defense 84, coverage 98, zone 95, and man and press coverage 98. So this guy is good in coverage. He is good. And like you said, Brandon, 38.7 QB rating when targeted. I mean, he is absolutely a monster in coverage. Some of the strengths here, guys: explosive athlete with elite speed and change of direction abilities makes him a menace in coverage. Watched him mirror slot receiver step for step against Georgia before breaking up a crucial third down pass. Shows exceptional processing speed and zone coverage, consistently jumping underneath routes before quarterbacks can release the ball. His first quarter interception against Michigan was textbook route recognition. Versatile chess piece who's logged significant snaps at deep safety, in the box, and slot. Rare to find a defensive back who can legitimately play all three spots. Natural ball skills jump off the tape.
He's 5'11", 186 pounds, ran a 4.45 40. His first 3 years were at Clemson, and he was the first true freshman DB since 1972 to start the season opener for Clemson. ACC Defensive Rookie of the Year. His 3 years at Clemson, 149 tackles and 20 pass breakups. And he had 5 interceptions his final season at Texas. So this guy is another guy who gets after the ball, and he hits like a fucking Mack truck, dude. I love this guy. I love him, and I think it makes total sense that they're visiting with him because safety is a need. And if you can get the 4th best safety in the 3rd round with your 72nd pick, Sean, would you be opposed to that?
No, I think he's got some all-around skills. This is a guy that we highlighted when we did safeties a few weeks back, and he's got a great ability to replays. From the tape, it looks like he makes some good quick decisions. He knocks the ball loose, could produce some turnovers at the safety position. He seems like a dynamic game changer, something that the Bears would need, especially if we were to lose Brisker to another concussion. We could tell last season that was a big miss when Brisker was removed, and he has the versatility, as you guys stated, to both cover the run and the pass. He looks like an elite playmaker with a high IQ. So this is an athletic safety.
That's all these Texas guys have that in common, Sean. High IQs.
He would be an athletic safety that I would be highly interested in. And if his name were to come off the board at 72 to the Chicago Bears, I would be pretty excited about
that. Might be a steal.
He's projected a 3rd round pick. This is a guy that you absolutely take in the 3rd round if you're the Bears. This is a position of need and a player of talent. This isn't worrying about one or the other. This guy checks all the boxes. Absolutely. And like Dustin said it and Sean said it, if you get this guy in the 3rd round, I feel like he's going to climb a little bit. If you get this guy in the 3rd round, 72, you might have just gotten the steal of the draft in regards to secondary players in this draft. And
I think that this top 30 visit kind of shows that what we've been talking about, guys, are concerned for Jaquan Brisker, because this guy's a strong safety. He's not a free safety. Yeah. He's a strong safety. So he's not replacing Kevin Byard, who is going to need to be replaced as well. As Broski's pointed out, we got a lot of guys coming off of their contracts. He's pointed out throughout the show, and now we're finally talking about safety. But Makuba is a guy that would be Jaquan Brisker insurance 100%. Yeah. So it's a good sign that Poles is looking into this, and Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen, that they do want that backup plan in place. And also, he's a guy who's just a really talented player, like you said, like everyone said. Yeah. So like he can find a role on your team regardless.
I also don't believe he's ever had a concussion.
He's given some concussions. He's handed some out.
I don't know if you saw Brisker's Twitter, some of his recent Twitters, but
yes, I have. Yeah,
it does sound like he's in full health right now. I mean, that's good for him.
He's ready. He's ready.
It was a scary moment for him and his family, I'm sure. I mean, he missed the entire season after that concussion. That sucks. You never want to see that happen to the Bears. Brisker looked like he was about to break out and become one of the best safeties in the NFL, and it sucks to see. I hope their plan is to start him, but yeah, you definitely need an insurance plan for sure. No doubt about it.
Makuba would be a good option.
When it comes to drafting, these guys, Gordon and Brisker together, man, 384 tackles, 9 interceptions, 31 pass deflections, 5 sacks, man. This was, in 2021, the Bears had a 103 passer rating. Since then, up to now, an 87.9 when those two are on the field together. I trust Ryan Poles when it comes to the secondary. I think he's made
especially in the middle round, Sean.
Especially in the middle round. Well, in the 2nd round, I'm
second to third. I mean, Terrell Smith was a 5th round pick, and I mean, he's held his own.
That's what I'm saying. He's done a really good job. Not because. Never mind. I won't go there yet, but I really like Josh Blackwell too. I think he's a fine football player, and he can come in and
another 5th round pick, right? He was another 5th round pick.
Yeah, Josh Blackwell was a must in re-signing. If you're going to let Jalon Jones walk, you need a Josh Blackwell on this team.
And when I saw that Jahdae Barron and
wasn't Josh Blackwell was a Ryan Pace pick, wasn't it?
Oh, I don't
I
know.
don't know that the
That's
Bears
possible.
drafted Josh Blackwell.
We're
I
gonna
thought
find
it
out
was a
right
Ryan
now.
Pace pick.
When I saw the Jade Barron and Makuba thing, when you guys told me about that, and I started diving into them, I couldn't help but think of Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker and that same style.
Undrafted
Why
out of
not?
Duke.
Why not draft both of these guys and just your secondary would be fucking unbelievable. But again, your needs don't really line up with taking a guy like Barron in the first round and then a safety in the third round. I think the third round safety makes a lot of sense. The first round corner, not as much.
Yeah, man, you take away Vilas Jones and his Ryan Pohl's first
Scottish
draft.
says he was drafted. Blackwell.
Sean,
He was
yeah, Sean, go ahead.
undrafted. He was an undrafted free agent to the Eagles and
Right.
then released, and the Bears signed him.
Yeah, he's been in the NFL for a little while now, right?
2022.
Oh, so
3
yeah,
years.
I guess he would have been a Ryan Pohl. But
Still a
Ryan
young
Pohl's, you
guy.
get rid of that Vilas Jones pick, with Braxton Jones in the 5th round, and then you get those two, Brisker and Gordon in the second and third round. That would have been man, if you just didn't take Vilas Jones.
Listen, man, the verdict is not out on Austin Booker. The verdict is
No,
not
hell
out
no.
on Karan Amagaji. These could be key contributors to your football team this year. They were drafted to be that. So, and we got to
yeah,
see.
I mean,
gotta
the guys,
see
the
what they
Bears
can
have to
turn
take a
into.
tackle, right? I mean, they have one backup tackle on the roster. What if both Braxton Jones and Darnell Wright got hurt in the same game? You have to. They need another tackle.
I hate saying
Tackle's
it,
coming from somewhere.
The verdict is out on Vilas Jones, and I hate saying it, but I firmly believe the verdict is out on Zach Pickens too.
Yes, it. Yeah, I agree.
Oh, yeah.
I don't. I've seen enough of Zach.
I don't
Pickens.
think Zach Pickens makes this team, guys.
Yeah, I
don't.
don't. And I mean, it sucks. He was a third round pick, and the Bears had high hopes for him, and so did we. And it's just he's not performed on the football field to that level. And that's just what it is.
In regards
No, and
to
he's already dealt with injuries. It's
Yeah.
just not been a good start for his career, man.
the Bears have not released many of their top 30 visits. I'm sure they have a few more scheduled we haven't yet read, guys. But want to dive into top 30s that we prefer, names we prefer we see reported by the Bears. Top 30 visits.
Yeah, Brennan, get it
Hold on,
started.
say that again. Top 30 reported by the Bears, or just top 30s we'd like to see the Bears?
The top 30s we would like to see
Oh, okay.
Reported.
by the Bears.
By the Bears. Who wants to go first?
Go ahead, Bernie.
All right, yeah, I'll kick us off. In regards to blue chip talent, guys, and players we might not need or might not necessarily need on our board of positions, I want to see the Bears visit with Will Johnson. I do believe that Will Johnson will be there at 10, but I think he's selected somewhere between maybe 10 and 14. I have him as the best corner in this draft, and I know we just talked about Jade Barron, but between Travis Hunter and Will Johnson, I think, and they do have Jade Barron ranked third. He is behind these two individuals. I think that Will Johnson's even better than Travis Hunter. I'm going to say that.
He's the best corner in this draft.
Yeah, I think this is not just the best at a position. This is hands down blue chip talent. I know the Bears don't have their greatest need at corner, but if the Bears take Will Johnson at 10, there's not a single fan out there that should be disappointed with this decision. You are probably likely moving on from Tyreek Stevenson if you make this pick in hopes that you're re-signing Kyler Gordon. I'll make this quick, guys. My second, a running back we don't hear a lot about because we keep talking about power. We've talked about Ashton Genty because he's projected where the Bears are going to pick. We keep talking about Caleb Johnson. We talk about Omarion Hampton. We talk about Judkins. They're big guys. They run through. I am starting to believe that Travion Henderson has the ability to be the next Saquon Barkley in the NFL. This guy brings all kinds of skill sets to the. I mean, this is an element the Bears don't have if they take any of the running backs we're talking about. This guy is DeAndre Swift tenfold. His 40 was his combine in general was unbelievable. He is an athlete, and he put the ball in this guy's hand. He's going to make plays. I believe that he could develop into a really quality receiver in the NFL as well for the Chicago Bears. Another outlet for Caleb Williams.
He's a good receiver now.
He's a good receiver now.
Yeah, good hands. Yes, he's in the right place at the right time. He's able to kind of. He's able to kind of trick people, makes it look like he's blocking, he kind of chips, and then he turns around and gets open. A player that I think Caleb Williams would really like. And then my last guy is Xavier Restrepo. He's still by Draft Buzz projected in the 4th round. If the Bears could trade into the 4th round and Restrepo is still available, this is a can't miss player as far as I'm concerned. Every draft analyst, every draft board has him as a player that is a must have for any team in the NFL. He is Julian Edelman comparison pro comp to me is one of the most accurate of all the players in this draft. He is constantly open. He's constantly reliable on 3rd down, 4th down situations.
He's the best route runner in this draft.
He takes really big hits catching the ball, and he manages to come down with it. He has strong hands, and He does whatever it takes to get the extra yard. I really, really, really like Xavier Restrepo. You guys know I watched a lot of Miami because I'm a big Cam Ward fan. I really think Restrepo, if he's there, and even with the 72 pick, that's a guy I'm taking a flyer on. And when I say flyer, you know what you're getting. I really believe that Restrepo is. I know wide receiver getting out of position need, but Restrepo is a difference maker on an NFL team week 1.
Yeah, I like him a lot, Brennan. Since you started talking about him a couple months ago, I started doing some research and digging into the game tape. Does not lie. The guy is, like Dustin said, he's the best route runner in this draft, no doubt. He is open constantly. It's not because he's some crazy, super amazing athlete.
No, it doesn't bounce off the charts.
He knows high football IQ, and he knows how to play football. And I think he would be absolutely amazing for Caleb Williams. I know Dustin agrees with me that I think people don't understand how important Keenan Allen was for Caleb Williams late in the year last year. I think Keenan Allen kind of broke out late, and I think he was absolutely saved Caleb Williams' life a couple times late in the season.
One other thing from that Ben, and that this is going to capitalize on that, Brandon. One other thing from that Ben Johnson interview, Hogue asked Ben Johnson, what's his favorite position to scheme up for? And he said, I don't know about my favorite, but the one that always ends up getting the ball is the slot receiver. He said, no, doesn't matter who we put there. It doesn't matter how it just, the ball seems to find them. The slot receiver, and he wants to get that slot receiver position straightened out. He talked about Zacchaeus potentially being in that role. Not so much DJ Moore, which I do think is a possibility, but getting that true slot receiver in this offense is going to be really important to Ben Johnson. It's the role that he admittedly says that's the guy who gets the ball more than anyone else. It's just
and I'm sure you guys probably all heard Tom Brady's spiel on the tight end slash slot receiver position, where he's talking about how, though he's like, it's easy to find the slot receiver, the tight end, because there's so many route options for those guys. They're not playing on the edge of the field or outside the numbers like
they're available to
wide
you.
receiver. Yes. Yeah, they can get themselves open
and
in your line of vision.
They're primarily the guys that can allow you to get the ball out of your hands quickly. And Restrepo played with quality receivers in Miami. It's not like he didn't. They had two phenomenal
and good
wideouts.
competition.
And
competition.
Cam Ward still looked to Restrepo more often than not.
I like him a lot. He broke a lot of records in Miami.
Vernon, I would not be upset at all if the Bears, if all three of those guys are scheduled for top 30 visits. I think that'd be really just Scottish Bear, man. That's my man, Nick Nash.
Might as well go, Kyle.
Nick Nash is not one of my hopeful top 30s, although I wouldn't be upset if the Bears. I like Nick Nash a lot. Scottish Bear, if you go back and watch one of the Barely There podcast where we broke down all the receivers in this draft, or at least our favorites, Nick Nash was on my list. I think he's super sneaky, good receiver. He had 16 touchdowns last year. That's no fluke. I don't care who the competition is. The guy obviously gets open in the end zone. He was also a very good running back. When he used to play running back, he averaged over 5.5 yards carry every single season in college playing running back. He's just an athlete. That's a guy I would be absolutely ecstatic with if the Bears decided to add him in the 6th, 7th, or maybe even undrafted, but not one of my top 30 visits. You guys, for me, the first and obvious one, this is kind of a gimme, I guess. I would love to see Kelvin Banks as a top 30 visit for the Chicago Bears. I just think Kelvin Banks, to me personally, it's him or Josh Simmons who it comes down to for me. I think those are the two best true left tackles in this draft. I like Will Campbell a lot as an athlete. I just think ultimately Will Campbell will end up at the guard position. I just think the arms are a little bit too short for the NFL. I know that doesn't.
His arms are too short to box.
Yeah, most fans don't care about that stuff, guys. But the NFL. The powers that be in the NFL, they do. I mean, you guys remember how good Peter Skoronski was as a tackle in college, and as soon as he was drafted, he was moved to guard. He's become one of the best guards at the NFL level. I think the same thing's going to happen with Will Campbell. Calvin Banks is just a beast. I mean, this guy's 6'5", 315 pounds. He played for Texas, so he played good competition. His position rank for tackle at draftbuzz.com is number 1. I think, like Sean has mentioned on this podcast many times, Josh Simmons would be in that conversation for number 1 if he didn't have that injury last year. But Calvin Banks, go watch the tape, guys. He's an absolute beast. A beast.
He doesn't allow sacks.
He's a mountain. I think they said he allowed something like 3 sacks his entire collegiate career.
He's the best pass blocking tackle in the draft.
And then he moves. He ran a 5.16. He moves. He's good. He's much better than Brad. It would be an immediate upgrade over Braxton Jones. You guys know I've said this on the show a million times. All these draft picks are fun to talk about, but at the end of the day, the most important thing for the Chicago Bears is the development of Caleb Williams and a new system with a new coach.
And to keep his head on his shoulders.
Yeah, and you don't if he suffers, you guys, no matter how all these players we talk about, no matter how much improved we think the Bears are, if we lose Caleb Williams for the season or to torn ACL or something like that because of a blindside hit, the season's over. It doesn't matter how much you like Tyson Bagent, it's over. Go finish the job, finish the offensive line, and go get Kelvin Banks if he's there at 10. I would absolutely be ecstatic if the Bears drafted Kelvin Banks. We've talked about it before. They don't really have any backup options at tackle positions right now. You'd be looking at Karan Amagaji if either Darnell Wright or Braxton Jones get hurt. Go finish the job. Go finish the offensive line. We know that Ben Johnson had a lot of success in Detroit, and it was due in large part to that offensive line. Another player I'd like to see the Bears bring in for top 30 visit, guys, is Jack Sawyer. And the reason I'm saying Jack Sawyer is because do I think he's the best defensive end of the draft? Absolutely not. I think he's a realistic possibility to falling in the second round. I really do. They have him ranked Draft Bus has him ranked at number 32, so that'd be the end of the first round. But I think there's a possibility he could fall into that second round, and the Bears could get a stud at the defensive end position. If you come out of this draft with a defensive end and a left tackle of the future, one of the most expensive positions in the NFL, I think it's 100% a win in every way, shape, or form. Jack Sawyer is 6'4", 260 pounds, played defensive end at Ohio State. We've talked about this before. Dustin brought it up just a few minutes ago, guys. You want these guys from Texas, Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame. These are the schools that have prepared these guys to have an easier transition to these NFL schemes.
Sawyer's a fucking beast.
Absolute beast. His position rank is 11 on Draft Buzz, but that's for all defensive linemen, guys. That's not just for ends. So I'm going to guess he probably falls somewhere between 4, 5, 6 for defensive ends. He ran a 4.640, which is amazing for a guy who's 6'4", 260 pounds. His overall player rating was 87.3. He is projected to be a late first, early second round pick. Like I said, his tackling is 76, pass rush 93, and run defense.
Kyle,
98.
do you really think he's going to be a first round pick? I don't think so. I don't know.
I hope not.
I don't think he'll even be a second round pick. I think he'll fall to the third round.
You think so? I think that would be awesome for the Bears. I mean, Draft Buzz has him as a late first, early second, but you guys, we've talked about this a million times. Nobody knows how this draft's going to go. Nobody knows how any of these drafts are going to go. We've seen guys like Joey Porter Jr. fall to the second round when he was being talked about as probably the best corner in the draft at one point. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he somehow fell in the second or third round. But his stats from last year: 9 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 59 tackles, 1 interception, and 6 passes defended, guys. And that's another thing they talk about when it comes to Jack Sawyer a lot. This guy gets his hands up constantly. If he's not able to get to the quarterback, he gets his hands up and he disrupts plays. These are the strengths. I'm going to go over his strengths just because I love him, guys. Devastating power at the point of attack. Consistently rocks back tackles with powerful first contact and maintains leverage throughout. Natural instincts in the run game, shines when diagnosing pulling guards and tight ends. High leverage football IQ. You guys know we like to hear about all the guys we talked about. High leverage football IQ. We've seen great athletes get drafted in the NFL and they're just not smart enough to learn the game. This is not one of those guys. And his NFL comparison, guys, Jalon Phillips from Miami Dolphins, who I absolutely love. And if that guy had not suffered as many injuries,
if he could stay healthy,
he would be one of the best players. Yeah, just an absolute beast. And then last, I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on it, guys, but if the Bears aren't able to get a guy like Makumba, I'd like to see the Bears draft a guy like Xavier Watts, probably in the 3rd or 4th round. He's 6 foot, 204 pounds, played safety for Notre Dame. His position rank is 8, but that's, again, amongst all DBs, guys, not safeties. I think for safeties, he'd be ranked 4th.
I think he's a second. He's a 3rd ranked safety according to Draft Buzz right
now.
A
3rd. Yeah,
he's ahead of Makuba, and he's going to be a 2nd round pick. Kyle.
I agree.
I'm fine. If the Bears decide to take him with their second round pick, I'd be absolutely.
That's who Matt Miller had them taken with their 39th pick.
Yeah, I mean, this guy is. I watched the
41st pick.
I watched the tape for a couple hours today. I've seen tape from him before. This guy is an absolute beast. Another one of those guys with high motor who's constantly, you hear his name on television constantly over and over and over again. His overall player rating is an 86.6 out of 100. Projected NFL position is man zone slot / nickel safety. Projected mid-second round, like Tustin said. QB rating when targeted, 35. 35 QB rating really targeted. Yeah, he's really 80 score for tackling, 80 for run defense, 93 for coverage, 92 for zone, 85 for man and press. Some of his NFL comparisons are Ronnie Hickman and our own Kyler Gordon. His strength are exceptional play recognition, born from offensive background, routinely jumps routes before quarterbacks can process their reads. Nasty closing burst to the football, especially when playing downhill. Arrives in the mesh point like he was shot out of a cannon and makes major hits. Any one of these 3 guys, I'd be happy to see the Bears draft. I definitely want to see them bring in these 3 guys for a top 30 visit.
I love Watts. He might end up being the best safety in this class.
Was that Kyle not taking too much time?
Sorry, guys.
Fastest minute.
Hey, I went as fast as I possibly could. I felt like I was shooting that out.
I know you sound like you should. You sound
Oh,
like
yeah,
you,
those are-
you sound like
reading.
you sound like you're auctioning top 30.
Xavier Watts is a guy I would love for the Bears to look into. And Sawyer, I'm in agreement with all three of yours. I like all three of those guys, and I think all three of them, as Skyler's pointed out, are culture guys that you can put into your locker room, and they will make a positive impact on the guys around them and the
and
culture of
realistic
your team.
options where the
Guys, I absolutely love Calvin Banks. Like, absolutely love Calvin Banks. I think he would be a really good left tackle in the NFL for a very long time. And that's not to say, I know Sean's a big fan of Josh Simmons. That's not to say I don't like Josh Simmons either. If Calvin Banks is there at 10, he's projected to go in the top 10. If he's there at 10 and the Bears decide to take him,
I keep seeing him, Kyle. He's fallen. He fell as far as to the Chiefs with the 31st pick.
Walter Football did a mock today where he's picked 4th.
Listen, I love Calvin Banks. Calvin Banks was one of my guys on my list as well, Kyle. We kind of double dipped there. Calvin Banks has been my guy from the beginning. I would love the Bears to draft him. I do want to see them address the left tackle position. You kind of went into it. I'll just say, man, his hands and technique are phenomenal. He's the best pass blocker in this draft. And his player comps that I saw were Skoronski, Elijah Vera Tucker, and Olu Fashanu.
Yeah,
Those are solid. Those are solid comps for a guy coming out. I mean, his arm length again is size. Some say 6'4", some say 6'5". So his height might be in question to some teams. And everyone keeps talking about moving him to guard. And I've been on this train from the beginning. Don't move Will Campbell to guard. Don't move Kelvin Banks to guard. These guys played left tackle their entire careers in college against the best competition in college football. Why would you move them to guard before you even give them a shot at doing it in the NFL?
I still like Kelvin Banks more than Will Campbell personally, but I know a lot of people think opposite. I think
I'm with you there. I think Kelvin Banks is a more traditional left tackle too in the NFL, but they both have the same concerns. His
arms are a little bit longer than Will Campbell's, and I know we football fans never really care about the measurables like that. They don't really care. I mean, it's something that you have to understand the game, the X's and O's and the insides of it, like stuff that we probably will never understand. Why is the arm length so important to these guys in the NFL? But man, I think when you watch the tape, Calvin Banks is a wall. He just doesn't let anybody in towards the court. Nobody. I mean,
listen, Will Campbell said it himself, Kyle. Will Campbell said it himself, and I loved him in this press conference. He reminded me of Billy Bob from Varsity Blues. This guy he's a badass. But he was just like, listen, you got all this tape on me. I've heard nothing this entire time. Now all of a sudden, because my arms are a little short, I can't play football. Fuck off. I mean, he doesn't believe that it will be an issue, and I think he wants to play left tackle. And I love his confidence. And he is a mauler, and he's another guy with great technique that will alleviate some of those concerns with the arms. Sean, do you want me to give my other two, or do you want to go? All right, listen, Quinshon Judkins has been my guy from the beginning. Quinshon Judkins, I think running back is a need for the Bears. I do like DeAndre Swift, and I'm not giving up on him, but I think having that power guy that you can mix in with him this season will be a must in Ben Johnson's offense, and I think Quinshon Judkins fits that role perfectly, and then he can transition into a bigger role. He can transition into your 3-down back. This guy will be a better pass catcher than people think in the NFL. He's a solid pass blocker. He can run by people. He looks for contact and wants to run through people. Quinshon Judkins played at his best when the lights were the brightest. Those are the kind of guys I want. I think Judkins is the best running back in this draft. His pro comp has always been Joe Mixon, and I would love to have a player like that on the Chicago Bears. So Quinshon Judkins, and he's a realistic target for the Bears at that 39 to 41 range. So he's a guy that the Bears can address for that running back position that I think is necessary for this Ben Johnson offense. And then another guy, man, this is a deep one because, and I mean, Kyle, you had brought him up previously, and I didn't even realize Caleb had liked some stuff of his on Instagram or whatever. But Dante Thornton out of Tennessee, transfer from Oregon. This guy is 6'5", 205 pounds. He's a projected 6th-round pick, but he ran a 4.3 flat 40. This guy is a fucking burner, and he's huge. That's just something that you don't find a lot of in the NFL, that unicorn type of skill set that Ben Johnson could find a way to utilize, I believe. And if you're getting them in the 5th round, 6th round, I mean, that's an area where I would be willing to target a guy like that just for his upside. His pro player comp is Christian Watson. And Christian Watson, if he could stay healthy, he could be a pretty dominant. And I loved him in college too, coming out of North Dakota. So I mean, but if he had stayed healthy throughout his career, right? I mean, who knows where that's going to go? But he can't stay healthy. So, but he's a dominant player when he is. But this guy averaged 21.9 yards per catch throughout his college career. That's his entire college career. 21.9 yards per catch. He averaged 25 over 25 this past season, and he was the number 1 ranked receiver on deep balls. So giving Caleb a weapon like that deep ball weapon, that would be huge, I believe. And you can get this guy at a fucking bargain very late in the draft. So I wanted to throw out Dante Thornton. That's what I got.
Dante Thornton. Really quick, I like everybody's picks. I love Trayvon Henderson.
Thanks, Sean.
I like Judkins. I want a running back. Is very, very bad. I'm going to go for my favorite running back. Everybody probably already knows who that is.
Devin Neal.
But the first guy I would like to see the Bears draft, I think is an absolute freak.
The suspense is killing me, Sean.
What was that?
I said the suspense is killing me.
The first guy is on the defensive side of the ball. He's 6'6", 264 pounds, kind of more of the guy that Dennis Allen values and the more natural fit for his system compared to like a Jalon Walker. This guy is Landon Jackson, size, length, physical play style, proven pass rush ability, his versatility. He can play traditional 4-3. He's played in every line position in college. This guy is an absolute stud, beast, animal. I just
physical freak, Sean.
Yeah.
He's a physical freak too. His RAS score was almost a 10. He was a 9.
Yeah, he would be
super versatile.
Instant impact on the Chicago Bears day one. He's almost a guy in this draft for me is a guy I don't want to see them leave without. And I know Brandon loves this guy as well. We duked it out to who would talk about him.
Oh, great. Now it makes you sound like I lost.
Sean, where's he projected? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Brandon threw a fit and he got
I got knocked out. I'm just the secretary, don't worry.
He's going to be I think they're saying that the Bears would have to take him in the second round.
Second round pick. He's a second round pick.
Past 41. But if you end up with him at 39 or 41, I think the Bears are sitting in a pretty good spot. And I think you're going to get first round value out of this guy. That's just my
I agree. He's going to turn into a dominant NFL force. There's no doubt about it.
I agree.
Yeah, Pro Football Focus has his grades as the 41st overall pick, which falls right into where the Bears would be picking. So if they take him at 39 or 41, I think you're good, man.
Yeah, Harris, that guy is 464 pounds, but I don't know if he's 6'8". I don't know. He don't look like he's 6'8" when you look at his pictures. The giant guy at Florida, the defensive tackle. Sorry, I just got it's 464 pounds.
Jesus. Yeah, he's a big boy.
I like all three of your picks, sir, Sean. I think all three of those guys would have major impacts immediately on the Bears.
Sean only said one pick.
Yeah, he only said 2.
I thought he said no. He said his running back.
No, he didn't.
Oh, I thought
he's only giving us one guy.
Oh. I know you were saying you announced. You just didn't say his name.
No, I'm coming back to him right now.
He's doing like
it was a tease, Brandon.
Reverse.
In the biz, they call it a reverse.
Yeah, you're not teasing anyone, Sean.
Here, as much as I do like Judkins and I do like Henderson, I'd be happy with either of those guys. Judkins, you guys just know his long speed concerns me. Henderson, sophomore and junior year, he missed 8 games, but he had a really solid senior year. He looked really good. And, I know that Judkins showed out in the national championship. They went with the hot hand in that game. He had 13 touches that equal 130 yards and a couple touchdowns.
Three.
He had 3 touchdowns. He had a really good game. But if you want to remember the running back that got him to that game, that would have been Trayvon Henderson.
That's a little bit of both. They had a very dynamic 1-2 punch at Ohio
They're both
State,
studs.
which is what the Bears need.
But my guy is obviously still from the Big Ten. It's Caleb Johnson, strong, versatile running back prospect. His traits stand out: big frame, burst, vision, combination of size, great asset. He is an effective power runner, especially in zone schemes. He's got a lot of ability, hits the hole hard. He's a great blocker. I out of the backfield.
He's impressive. Sean. I see him dropping in a lot of mocks, though. I see him
dropping in a lot of mocks, too.
He's a monster.
He didn't have the best combine, but again, I don't hold that. I watch game film, and his contact balance. I'm sorry, I don't know if you guys agree with me, but his contact balance in this draft is elite and maybe the very best. If you
Genty has the best, in my opinion. Genty has the best contact.
We can agree to disagree on that one.
Yeah, but it could be close. But I think
both very good players.
Yeah, both very good. My last guy out of the page of Xavier Restrepo, I really like Restrepo as well. I think he'd be a great slot receiver. I think this guy would be a great slot and could bounce to the outside as well. And Jack Beck, excellent hands, great concentration in traffic, excels at working the intermediate area. You know, he's a very, very good concentrated route runner, knows where to be, knows where to find the soft spot. He has strong body control. This guy, to me, I think he's going to work out to be one of the best receivers in this draft. He's not talked about. I know he had a great Senior Bowl. It bounced him up. I think he was the 4th round. They got him up to the 3rd round now, I believe.
And he did that while dealing with the death of his brother.
There you go.
Yeah. Listen, am I the only one that laughs at all the player comparisons for Jack Beck? Adam Thielen, Eric Decker, like it's just every Jordy Nelson, every somewhat tall white guy in the NFL. It's Jack Beck's comp.
You know what though?
He is a great route runner and he has great fucking hands. I do.
Yeah,
like
and
him.
you know the other
more
thing,
speed than people give him credit for.
Yeah, and the one thing that people don't, he can track the ball. I was reading an article today because I wanted to get a little more information. They said he's one of the best ball trackers in this draft. That's pretty awesome. Jack Beck, TCU.
I bet he loves tracking balls, Sean. That's his favorite thing to do. Track some balls.
Sean, I really like all three.
Well, thanks, Brandon. I appreciate that.
He's a real ball tracker, that guy.
Well, you guys, Scottish Spears says Scadaboo's contact balance is the best, and then Erica follows it up.
Yeah, no to Scadaboo. Yeah, Erica, you're my spirit animal. Thank you for saying that.
She says
I don't hate Cam Scadaboo.
Scadaboo. Yeah, I'm good.
He's a typical workhorse running back that I think will be good, well used in special situations. I don't know about an every down back. I think he'll get you the tough yards. When you talk about Junkins, you talk about Henderson, you talk about Caleb Johnson. For me, he's below all three.
And
I imagine
Marion Hampton too
and Hampton as well. Absolutely.
I imagine Sean with hair saying that same thing about Toby Gerhart when he came out of Stanford. This is the exact same thing.
I can't tell if Sean was talking about a slot receiver or ordering a coffee.
Look, if you
Xavier Restrepo.
Three shots of a Strepo.
If you were to use Cam Scadaboo inside the 20, I think he'd be a very effective player in someone's offense. I just don't think he's a guy you want to see touch the ball 15 to 17 times a game. That's all.
Throat's killing me. I think I got to Restrepo.
Hey, Scottish Bear, I'm not doubting it, but I would go back and watch Caleb Johnson and watch how he bounces off the tackle.
No, he's a monster. He runs people over.
Dude, I'm not kidding. I'm not saying this just because the black and yellow. He looks like Le'Veon Bell.
He is. I was going to say my pro comp is Le'Veon Bell to him.
Very patient.
100%. He's very patient.
Le'Veon Bell made a career out of being patient.
Sometimes too patient. Way too patient.
Well, Le'Veon Bell also had some of the best hands of any running back I've ever seen play football.
He was way too patient in that holdout, for sure. It ruined his career.
That was pretty much it.
Yeah. Guys, listen, I think any of those top 30 visits would be good for the Bears. What do you got there, Sean? Who we drafting? It looks like Denham.
We're moving back.
Oh, is it trading back? For sure.
Trading back. I wanted to maintain that.
Sean, real quick, tell everybody about.
Before we do that, please. I just want to everyone. We keep talking about all these guys that we want to add to this team. That this team needs to get better, and I 100% agree. We need more talent. I do want to talk about Javon Dexter for just a second because he is a guy on this team that has continued to get better. He doesn't get enough just due, even from me sometimes. But there was an article that came out, and it's interesting because he was listed by Brad Gagnon of the Bleacher Report app as the most underpaid player for the Chicago Bears. 15 games last year, 51 tackles, 19 QB hits, 5 sacks, 70.3 PFF grade. Jalon Carter had a 73.3 PFF grade. So he's right there with this guy, and he's always going to be compared to him, right, because of the draft. And I was pissed off they didn't draft Carter, but let's look at this and put it in perspective. Dexter's pass rush opportunities, 356 this past season. Jalen Carter's 711. Jalen Carter has much more opportunity to do what he's done so far, and he was obviously rewarded with a huge contract. But Javon Dexter is 23 years old. He shares my birthday, actually. His birthday is October 5th. I did not know that. So that's pretty cool. He's set to make
very interesting.
He's set to make 1.5 million this year, Brandon. He's under contract through 2026, and that year he's going to make 1.6 million. So if you're getting this kind of production on that kind of pay, that's a fucking steal, man. And if when it comes time for him to get paid, if he just maintains his production now, guys, I'll ask this question. Is 3 years, 50 million too much for Javon Dexter when it's time to get him on his next contract? If he performs at the level just that he performed at this past season, which and there's also a big probability that he will improve his play.
No, I mean just off of
I think he's going to demand more than
he
that.
should get more than 350 chances this year. You would hope.
Yeah, you would hope so, right?
But then on the field.
He's going to demand more than 3 years, 50 million.
He missed a couple of games.
Oh, even if
let me tell you where I got that, Brandon. Real quick. This past year, 15 to 20 million is your average salary per year for a starting defensive tackle in the NFL. So Javon Dexter's not jumping off the page. He's in that 18 million range, probably on an annual salary, 30 million guaranteed, 3 years, 55 million. I'm just kind of ballparking it. I don't have any like projected numbers. I'm just kind of saying like that's kind of where these guys are falling.
Until he blows up this year, which I think he will. He's finally going to have some decent players playing around him. Looks like
Justin,
a couple of decent ends. I've been a big fan of him. I thought it was a good pick when they picked him. I think he's improved every year. I think he did what he did. He missed a couple of games last year due to injury, but that, when he was on the field, he showed his flashes. He wasn't as consistent as we like to see, but he showed me that if he has players around him, this guy could be a very productive guy on that defensive line.
He's the same age as a lot of guys that are going to get drafted this year.
Yeah.
He's 20.
He's very young. He's growing into himself. He's growing into himself as a football player. And don't forget, the new coaches that are here and all the experience that they have in Bill Johnson, they're going to help him. Pad level has been one of his biggest issues. I'm sure they're going to be able to work that out with him and say, hey, here's a technique that's going to help you win your line of scrimmage battle. I have a lot of confidence in the staff. I think he's severely
underrated. That's just me.
Right? Underrated, underpaid, and he will be worth a second contract. I was going to
say, I think if you by some miracle, Mason Graham is available at 10 and you're drafting him, you're moving on from Javon Dexter. You're not paying him $18 million a year.
You're moving on from Grady Jarrett.
Well, Grady Jarrett, but you're not going to pay Javon Dexter $18 million a year if you draft Mason Graham.
Well, you don't have to pay him this year.
You got 5 years.
Yeah,
No, I know.
5 years. You
I'm
don't have to worry about paying him.
I'm stating that I think Kyle, the same as Kyle said about Tyler Warren and Cole Kmet. I think you're drafting one to eventually replace another.
But you need a lot more defensive linemen than you do tight ends.
And Javon Dexter can move to the one technique. He can play the nose, and that's kind of what he's.
I would love to see Javon Dexter on the outside.
The Eagles
in a 3-4 that makes sense. It doesn't make sense in a 4-3.
The Eagles are going to have to pay Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter.
But the Eagles just allowed their defensive tackle to leave.
They did?
Well, no,
Jordan Davis and Jordan.
Milton Williams.
Well, he was a backup for the Eagles. He wouldn't be a backup for most teams, but he was a backup for the Eagles.
Yes,
Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter are the two. That's the most prominent defensive tackle combination in the NFL.
I don't think Dexter's a phenomenal one tech. I think that he's a 3 tech, and I think if Mason Graham's in your team, they play the same position.
Well, but the thing about him with his pad, like Sean was mentioning, with his pad leverage, Billings is going to be gone too. So, I mean, you could potentially, given that pad leverage, given his size, you could potentially put him at the 1 and teach him how to stand up blockers and plug some gaps and do more of the run stuffing stuff. It's a possibility. I don't know that you do that this season with Javon. All I was trying to do really was just give him some due credit because he doesn't get it enough. And he's an unsung hero for this defense.
For me.
No, for sure.
I agree with you, Dustin. I'd be fine with the 3 years.
I don't know that I agree that he doesn't get enough credit. He might be underpaid for sure. I think the Bears fan base is in love with Javon Dexter.
No, Brandon. He's gotten shit on because he's always going to be
compared to Jalen Carter. And if you compare the numbers, then they're actually pretty similar.
Factual. That is factual.
I think
Anytime you bring up,
I
anytime you
think
bring
Javon
up,
Dexter's got a pretty big support base here, guys.
anytime you bring up his name, somebody brings up Jalen Carter's name, man. It
Well,
never
you know
fails.
what? If I may, really quick, Brandon, you said the other day, and I responded to you that you weren't enamored with Darnell Wright at the time, but you're still not enamored with that pick. I don't know how you can't be, because he's probably one of the top 3 right tackles in all of football.
I'll never waver the way I felt the Bears handled that pick, Sean.
Yeah, no,
Never.
I'm in agreement with Brandon. I thought Carter was the clear and obvious pick, but it is what it is at this point.
And that's fine.
I just
but
want to
you
give
can't throw-
Trevon Dexter.
You can't throw shade at Darnell Wright, dude. Darnell Wright has done his job, and he's an exceptional football player. Probably
The
one of the
number
best
1
football
ranked
players on
talent
the Chicago
was
Bears.
available to the Bears at number 9, and they selected the number 21 ranked talent. And
They traded back.
That's
to
the
do
way
it.
I feel about that pick.
Yeah.
But
All right, guys,
again,
well, real quick.
hold on. No.
Scottish
Really quick. You can say they drafted the number 21 talent, but everyone says Penei Sewell is the best right tackle in football. This guy graded out as good at him in every possible category last year. So you're saying they drafted the 21st talent. He's outplayed that 21st. He is the 10th
I think
pick.
if
He's
you
one of the top
redraft, he's
tackles
probably
in
like
football.
if you redraft, he's probably like 12th, 13th, I'm sure. But Jalen
And
Carter.
they drafted him at what, 10?
Sean, if you say to
Jalen
me,
Carter might be the number 1 player.
If you
But
say
here's
to me,
here's the question.
you can
Here's
get
the
a
question
stud
for
3
you.
tech or a stud right
Here.
tackle, I'm going to choose
Here.
the same one every time.
100%.
Here's
Jalen
the
Carter
question,
was
though.
the pick.
Here's a
It was.
fair and honest question. Jalen Carter has the same production in double the time as Javon Dexter, but yet it was the wrong pick. And Javon Dexter isn't playing around all pros. All that Jalen Carter has around him is all pro, all pro, all pro.
What do you mean
all pro, all
double
pro.
the time?
What?
What do you mean double the time?
Well, what I was
said.
711 pass rushing snaps for
To
Jalen Carter last season.
356.
To
And their
356
production was
for
the
Javon
same.
Dexter.
So Javon Dexter's giving
Well-
you the same amount of production as Jalen Carter in half the snaps.
But
Well, I
Sean,
think-
that argument could go the other way, and you could say,
Jalen
well,
Carter's
you're
not being
the
used as a
yeah.
pass rusher because he can't rush the pass.
You're the
He has a half more sack than him in his career.
I don't think you tell me that sacks don't define how good
I'm
a pass rusher
I'm
is.
sorry,
You
guys.
constantly throw that at me. So
No,
I would say,
I'm not
guys,
saying that.
who makes a bigger impact on defense, Jalen Carter or Javon Dexter?
Can I say this? Ben Johnson said in that interview that the position on defense that he has the hardest time figuring out is the 3 technique. The guy directly over the guard. It dramatically impacts your offense. You can do more on the outside to scheme to help pass block on an edge rusher. The 3 technique, a dominant 3 technique, is the hardest thing for an offensive coordinator to figure out.
It's one of the hardest things to find.
This is a Scottish Bear just put this in here. This is the best way to define this because I've said this for a long time. That locker room for the Chicago Bears was not designed for Jalen Carter. His college problems
He
would
just
have
won
led.
a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
All right.
because where was he? He was with 6 Georgia defenders, his teammates, who could reel him in. In Chicago, it wouldn't have been the same. It wouldn't have been even close.
I
It's a
can't
pretty big
quantify
indictment of your team to say we can't take the best players available because we can't handle them.
It's
That's
a big,
whole
it's a
nother
big
conversation.
indictment when Jalen Carter lies in an interview with the general manager of a football team, and that's
It's
what he
also-
did.
it's also a
and that's
massive
why he
indictment.
wasn't a Chicago Bear.
It's also a massive indictment to draft a quarterback number 1 overall and ignore the offensive line. I mean, Bears fans always get pissed off when we draft offensive linemen. It's not sexy. It's not hot. It's not cool. But guess what? If you want Caleb Williams to be the future franchise quarterback, the Chicago Bears win multiple Super Bowls, you know what you need? You need a lot of Darnell Wrights, whether you like it or not. It doesn't matter.
Javon Dexter is in for a good year. That was
Guys,
my main point, and he's a steal of a player on his contract.
We're gonna have to
That was
get
my
into the NFC
I
North
was trying to get in the
conversation
NFC
on the
North
next
from you
hangover,
guys.
guys.
You guys
Yeah, we will.
went off
Yeah,
the
we
rails.
will. And just a quick reminder before we get out of here, we're going to send a shout out to everybody in the chat that was in there. In 1 second, don't forget April 24th, 102 North River Street Tavern, 4-Star Chicago Sports. We're going to be doing a live broadcast, live podcast for you guys. We're raising money for charity, 50-50 raffle, grand prize to everybody. In that meantime, we're going to be giving away this awesome Charles Tillman autograph, this awesome DJ Moore autograph, this awesome Dan Hampton autograph. We got Cubs tickets. This is for the Florida Marlins that we're giving away. This is for the San Francisco Giants. This is May 5th. This is May 12th. Both 640 football games. We have $3 16-ounce Coors Lights. We have half-price chicken bites. We also have a hot dog special that we'll get to you next time we're on the air because I don't remember it at the moment, and we didn't put it on the flyer. But I know everybody just cares about the tall boys for $3.
We are going to put sports peppers on the hot dogs, though. Sports peppers will go on the hot dogs.
Yes, and I will slap anybody's hot dog out of their hand that I see ketchup on. Ta-ta.
Challenge accepted. I just want to see if you do it. It's going down.
Thank you, Trax, Erica, Scottish Bear, Dante. Who else? I'm going through.
Broski,
Broski, Illinois Jones,
Breaking News Bruce,
Kyle Harris, Breaking News Bruce. We love y'all. Thank you guys all so much for spending a little bit of your Monday with us. Don't forget, these guys are jumping onto CSP right now in about 6 minutes. They're going to back this up. They're going to talk about some tackles. Don't forget to download. It's tournament time. Don't forget to download the Wanna Play app, WANNA Parlay, Wanna Parlay app, $2. Code word to enter is TRAX. Get 100% match on your deposits. $2. Play against CSP. Play against 4 stars. Play against the world. Get on that leaderboard. Just make yourself some money. Let's go Cougars. Let's go Gators. The Final Four is here. Woo!
Duke is winning the whole thing, Sean. So you can keep doing all your theatrics.
And by the way, Scottish
cutting
Bear,
the nets.
I absolutely love Kenneth Grant, Scottish Bear. I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to talk about him. We all like him on the show, and if the Bears took him at 10, I'd be fine.
There's only so much time in a day, guys.
Very much so.
Thank you, everybody.
Anything you want to get out there before we wrap up?
Shit, fuck Green Bay.
All right. Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah.
And
all right.
Sorry.
We love you, brother.
Overplay there.
Sorry, we didn't mean to forget about you, Jediah. It's tough to remember everybody at the end of the show here, but we love you, man. Thanks for sharing the show. We appreciate it.
Jed didn't say a single thing this entire show. Jed didn't say a single thing.
No, he did. He threw a few things in there. He's hilarious.
We love you guys.
All right, guys.
Down. Go hop over to CSP. Check these boys out. Until next time, bear down. Stay safe out there, everybody. We love you.
Peace.